ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne,
Robbie and Rex Road, Chase, Willie, and D-Mace,
Stillman and Company, Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushes.
Awesome Game 7.
Checkered flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
I appreciate every one of you. Okay? The difference between this league and our team is we got Derrick Henry. Okay? Congratulations, man. Total touchdowns, man.
I did not expect the coach to say that. Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the losses of Amanda J. Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Titans Monday here on the program. But let me just say this. I want to be very upfront with the people today. The Tennessee Volunteers will be a big part of today's show, as well as the Titans, because we have got the greatest upcoming football regular season week that we have had in the 8 football seasons that I've been on the radio here. Because we've got, I don't know what the rankings tomorrow are going to be. I think Tennessee is going to be number 1. I think Georgia is going to be number 2. So we're going to have number 1 versus number 2 on Saturday, undefeated. And then the Titans at 5-2 against the Chiefs at 5-2 on Sunday Night Football. The 2 biggest games of the week in America are right here. So we'll be all over it. And so, yes, it's a Titans Monday, but we will go back over the Vols win over Kentucky. Now, what I said there at the start, where Mike Vrabel in the locker room said, the difference between us and the rest of the teams in this league are we have Derrick Henry, and everybody starts, oh, yeah. I can't believe he said that.
Is he wrong?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So I've said this yesterday on the pregame show, and I truly believe it. Because here we are today at Halloween, just like we were last year. The Titans won the division on Halloween when they went on the road to Indianapolis a year ago, and they beat the Colts, and Derrick Henry broke his foot. Here we are today, and the Titans have won the division. It's over. They have, as of yesterday, after all the games were over, they had an 81% chance, according to the New York Times, of winning the AFC South. It's over. All they have to do, I was plugging it in on the little New York Times playoff thing today. If they beat the Texans again, which they will because this Texans team is cheeks. If they beat the Texans again, plus the Jags, did you watch that Jags-Broncos game?
I did not know. I did not subject myself to that.
Bad.
Did not subject myself to that.
It was so bad. Oh, the Jags, they suck. So if they win those 3 games, plus the Broncos here, which they should, they have a 99% chance of winning the division, and that is without any of the other games. So, can they beat the Bengals here? I think they probably can. Can they beat the Packers in Green Bay? I think they probably can. Can they beat the Cowboys here? It'd be tough, but it's a Thursday night, and, the Titans usually play well in those games. Can they win Sunday against the Chiefs? I think they probably can. So, the division is over. Now it's about the AFC. Now it's about the Chiefs. And I was thinking about this yesterday, about how much people are going to want to talk about the game yesterday. Because in the playoffs, one of the big frustrations I have is the Titans always play on Saturday because Saturday is not as big of a, football watching day as Sunday. So they always put the better games on Sunday, and the Titans almost never qualify as the better game. So they put the Titans on Saturday. And the Titans will win on Saturday in the playoffs, but by the time Monday rolls around, nobody wants to talk about what happened on Saturday. Everybody wants to talk about the next game. And I was thinking about this last night, and I'm like, everybody this week, nobody wants to talk about that Texan game. Everybody wants to talk about Kansas City. And I'm just going to have to embrace it. I do have a lot that I want to go over of the Texan game, though. Let me start with this. First off, the Titans won this game yesterday because they have Derrick Henry and Jeffrey Simmons, and the other team doesn't. And the Titans are going to win the division for the third straight year because they have Derrick Henry and Jeffrey Simmons, and the other teams don't. And, I mean, those are the two best players in this division, and they reside on the same team. Indianapolis, whomever you want to say from Indianapolis, hate to break it to everybody from last year, but Jonathan Taylor ain't as good as Derrick Henry. It's not even close. So for everybody out there last year that said Jonathan Taylor was the man and Derrick Henry was falling off and everything else, you're wrong. And the Colts don't have a player that is anywhere near as good as Derrick Henry or Jeffrey Simmons. The Jags don't have a single player that's in that ballpark. I would argue their best player is probably Josh Allen, the pass rusher.
Probably so.
And he's good. But he's not as good as Jeffrey Simmons or Derrick Henry.
No.
Jeffrey Simmons and Derrick Henry are, honest to God, probably both in the top 12 in the NFL in terms of total players. Now, the other team that the Titans will play this upcoming Sunday does have two of those two, and one at quarterback. But, I mean, those two guys, it's such an honor to watch them play with how freaking good they are. And they both took over that game. And not only that, but when I think about both of those guys, but especially Derrick Henry, and I don't think I need to say the Texans don't have anybody in their team as good as Derrick Henry.
I think that's probably assumed.
Because that team sucks.
Yeah, that's pretty booty.
I'll be honest with how bad that Texan team was yesterday. Like, I remember the David Carr expansion Texans and how bad they were. And honest to God, this Texan team might be as bad as that team. And that was an expansion team who had the number one pick in the expansion draft and drafted Tony Baselli, the Hall of Fame tackle from Jacksonville, who was too hurt and never played. That was a horrendous Texan team. And that team might be as good as this Tex. I don't know how they won a game. I know they beat Jacksonville, which probably tells us more about Jacksonville, but I don't know how that team won a game. That team sucks. So, obviously the Titans have the two best players in the division. But what's insane to me is how all these football guys sit around and all they ever do. If you've ever worked in the NFL, there is a 99% chance that all you ever do is think about how hard you worked when you were in the NFL and how nobody else in an average profession works anywhere near as hard as anybody else. I heard it every day. Ian backed me up on that.
Yep.
It's, you don't understand the meetings these guys have and the hours they put in. And we all know the story, right? Coach gets home at 3 o'clock in the morning. He wakes up at 3:30 and he gets in the car and he goes in the facility. Gotta watch a tape.
Never sleeps, never eats.
Doesn't see his family.
Nope, never.
So you mean to tell me that the Houston Texan coaches spent all week, all that time, 20 hours a day, between practices and meetings and walkthroughs and coaching meetings and everything else, and they sat there and said, now, if Malik Willis plays at quarterback, then they're not going to be able to throw the ball because, boy, I tell you, man, Malik, man. We'll get to Malik. Woof. They're not going to be able to throw the ball. So if Malik plays quarterback, really the only chance they have to win is if number 22 takes the ball up the middle 30 times for 800 yards. And, you know, what we got to do is we've got to figure out a game plan in order to keep number 22 from taking the ball up the middle 30 times for 500 yards. And they probably sat around and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to use our safety, and we're going to move the safety around, and we're going to try to keep the safety unblocked so he can get in the backfield and tackle Derrick Henry. And again, all these men leave their families for the whole week to sit there and watch the tape and come together and break down the tape and then have practice and then break down the practice tape and then decide from there what they want to install and what they don't. And it doesn't matter. All these guys, you don't think the Colts coaches sat there and said, hey, we got to figure out how to keep Derrick Henry from winning this game single-handedly?
That's probably the only thing that they talked about.
How many coaches?
Why would you talk about anything else?
How many coaches are on a coaching staff? Like real coaches. I know they all have these extra guys, but you got your coordinator, defensive coaches, coordinator, defensive line.
Yep.
Inside linebackers. Outside linebackers.
Yep. Secondary coaches.
DBs. Or sometimes it's corners and safeties. So that's 6. So you got at least 6 coaches that spent all this time on the Raiders, on the Colts. What's that crap team the Titans beat? The Commanders. And now the Texans that have spent all this time to try to stop Derrick Henry. And they can't do it. And no disrespect to the Titans offensive line, but the Titans offensive line at times this season has been downright terrible. And nobody can stop them. Think about that. Nobody can stop them. Do you realize how lucky we are to get to watch this? I watch these Football Life documentaries, about guys like Thurman Thomas and Barry Sanders and Eric Dickerson, and Derrick Henry, and what he's doing right now is every bit as good as those guys. I don't know if he'll ever make it into the Hall of Fame, but he probably should. But what we're watching right now, it's not an accident when it says at the bottom of your TV screen, Derrick Henry just tied an NFL record with O.J. Simpson and Adrian Peterson. By the way, if there was an award for personality, I would say Derrick would be number one with that group.
Not great company to be in unless you're talking about running back.
Exactly.
Stats.
Derrick's old teammate, Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
But again,
legendary Titan.
And then not only that, Simmons. You don't think that the defensive line as a whole is just nasty. But, you don't think the Texans sat there and said, hey, whatever we do not let 98 absolutely wreck the game. And he did. I thought, I literally wrote it in my notes this morning. I thought when I saw it, wow, this is an amazing play. And I even wrote wow in my notes. There was a running play in the first quarter where the Texans ran the ball with Dameon Pierce, and Jeffrey Simmons was being held by Kenyon Green, the first-round pick out of Texas A&M, that we had talked about the Titans drafting as a guard. Kenyon Green is holding Jeffrey Simmons, and so Simmons can't get off the block because he's being held, right? Well, they're not going to throw the flag. They didn't throw the flag. So Simmons pushes Green into Dameon Pierce and tackles him for a 3-yard loss. He used the back of the guard to tackle the running back. Do you realize how strong you have to be to do that?
A really, really good guard at that. First-round pick guard. 300-pound man.
So we'll get to the Malik stuff. But, just all in all about the Texan game yesterday. Derrick Henry and Jeffrey Simmons are so good. And when I was younger, the Titans never, I know McNair won an MVP, and I loved McNair, but I maybe took for granted a little bit, like how lucky we were to get to see that kind of quarterback as a kid growing up. But Javon Kearse and Albert Haynesworth, when they played like that, I didn't think wow, this is so lucky to watch Javon Kearse just come off the edge and fly and go kill somebody. But that is what now that I'm older, and then I think I probably appreciate the game a little bit more, I realize how lucky we are to get to watch this. And I realize how hard it is. Again, the Houston Texans have an entire defense and an entire coaching staff that spent 3 days of practice, all those meetings, all those hours, all those walkthroughs, all that practice to not let Derrick Henry run away with the game. The Titans have no offensive line. They have no receivers. They have no tight ends. And yesterday they didn't have a quarterback. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter. And even Dontrell Hilliard ran the ball great yesterday. The only thing I felt bad about the running game was that when I looked down at the bottom of the screen and they had the Atlanta-Carolina score, they showed that Deontay Foreman ran for 3 touchdowns yesterday, and I'm like, they couldn't have Deontay Foreman on this team? That's the only thing that I didn't like about the running game yesterday. But, I mean, again, I know everybody wants to talk about the Chiefs. I want to talk about the Chiefs. You know, that Texan game, good to get it out of the way. I did pick the Texans yesterday on the pregame show when I found out Malik was starting. Boy, I did not expect the Texans to be that bad. That Texan team.
I mean, they are pretty awful.
Cheeks.
Cheeks.
And again, no quarterback. And Derrick Henry still ran for 200 yards. Unbelievable. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025. Your reaction to the game yesterday. And yes, we got game balls to give away. Now, I think it's pretty obvious who's getting the game balls, right? I just spent 15 minutes talking about Derrick Henry and Jeffrey Simmons.
Well, who else would even be a contender?
There were some good contenders for game balls. We'll get into that coming up next. Plus, the one thing that I cannot get over about yesterday's game and the Titans and your reaction to the game. 615-737-1025. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. I love the FanDuel Sportsbook app. One of the things I love about betting on the NFL is you can always find new games or player props that you like. And what's cool about FanDuel is you can combine these props with other bets from the same game to score an even bigger payout, which is perfect. Mwah! Chef's kiss. Perfect for tonight's game. Monday Night Football. Now, I'm going to say this. And again, you all know me. I want Derrick Henry in the Hall of Fame. So my heart wants under for Nick Chubb rushing yards. And I want Derrick Henry in the Hall of Fame, not because I like Derrick Henry, because I don't really know Derrick that well, but because I just think what we're watching belongs in the Hall of Fame. So if Derrick Henry wins a 3rd rushing title, I think that will help him get into the Hall of Fame, and I think he deserves it. So we all have to watch Nick Chubb today. Keep that in mind. Hey, FanDuel's easy to use. They got fast withdrawals and odds boosts and specials, and there's no feeling like nailing a same-game parlay, so lock in your bet today on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with the promo code JGM. That's promo code JGM, and you can make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. 21 and older and present, Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
The Sports Talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
Have they truly been tested yet?
I really want this to be a good game.
Michelle and Junie, every Saturday morning at 9. Presented by Superbook Sports and the Nashville Jam Company.
I think Junie and I are going to go hit breakfast/brunch there after the show.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Black Friday deals are here earlier than ever at Electronic Express. Come into our convenient locations for great deals on all of your favorite brands like Samsung, GE, Microsoft, Cuisinart, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department: computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Save up to 40% with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Men, are you asking yourself questions like, why am I gaining fat? Why is my energy or sex drive down and maybe haven't been getting the exercise you need? If you want to get back to the man you used to be but just don't have that youthful energy, that edge you once had, you very well might have low testosterone. Low T causes all kinds of issues, from a reduced libido, lower drive, and bad sleep patterns to problems with muscle gain, bone density, and more. It may even contribute to erectile dysfunction, and if this sounds like you, it's probably time to get treated for your low T. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've treated thousands of men for low T. We've seen them put on muscle, add to their energy, improve their sex lives, get better sleep, and just feel better. Plus, if you're like most men, you'll see results in only a few weeks. So make an appointment today and experience how testosterone therapy can truly change your life. Your initial appointment is only $99 with results in minutes. Call today, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments, extra results vary.
When it comes to procuring my adult beverages for the big games, I saddle up and head to Red Spirits and Wine. Red's titanic selection of beer, wine, distilled spirits, and cigars is second to none. And Red's Cracker Jack crew always delivers a winning combination of service and value. There's no two ways about it. Red is top of the range. Open 7 days a week at Highway 70 South in Bellevue. And check us out at redspirits.com.
Never miss a moment of the show.
What is this? Check it out.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
This year, it's more of an inside running game and trying to run behind Ben Jones and Nate Davis. That's really been more what they try and get with Derrick Henry this season.
They'll hand it off to Henry, and Henry up the middle. Makes a little move. 15, 10, 5. Did he get there? Touchdown. 29 yards. That was a freight train wearing number 22.
Yeah, he got that ball in, and when the Texans take a look... When the Texans take a look at this, they're going to be beside themselves because you had two free players, one at the line of scrimmage and then the free safety with a chance to just get him down. But that guy is tough.
There you go, Derrick Henry running the ball. Time for the game ball, 615-737-1025. Game ball number one. Surprise, surprise on the offense. Derrick Henry. Wait, congratulations.
That's a gimme there.
That was, again.
Really hard work put into that choice.
He had 185 yards in the third quarter. He had 185 yards. And look, I know Malik Collins was out for the Texans, and I know their run defense is cheeks, and I know they're not very good. But again, they spent all week preparing for that. If they stop Derrick Henry, and, the old man used to always say that you can always bring one more than the other team can block. And that's what the Texans were doing, was they were bringing Jalen Petrie, their safety, down a lot. And it was Derrick man-on-man with him, and Derrick just beat him. Now, Derrick did get caught from behind early in the game, which I didn't like. That was odd. But I digress. Derrick was fantastic running the ball. So many times in my notes, I had great vision where there wasn't even a great hole, and he just scattered right through it. He's got unbelievable speed. Derrick does. He's got great vision. I mean, again, the Texans knew the Titans didn't want to throw the ball. After the first interception Malik threw, it was obvious the Titans didn't want to throw the ball. The Titans didn't have to throw the ball, and they didn't have to throw the ball because of Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry gets a game ball, though there were some good blocks. Now, on that touchdown right there, I think Nate Davis got away with a pretty big hold, which they don't call it. They didn't call it, but
you told me that. I looked back and watched it. I didn't see it.
You didn't see the Nate Davis hold?
No.
Oh, Nate Davis comes out and, he kind of.
Maybe I'm missing something that's totally blatant. I just didn't see it.
I mean, he pulls to the left and he grabs the defensive tackle, I think, pretty obviously. But then again, there was one early in the game where Kevin Strong, number 97 on the Titans defensive line, was getting held. I couldn't believe they didn't throw the flag on that one. And so maybe they just weren't calling it much. For the most part, I thought the crew called a pretty good game, but whatever. So Derrick Henry gets the first game ball. Defensive game ball. Jeffrey Simmons.
That's
Congratulations to
too.
Jeffrey Simmons, who, again, not playing 100%. Clearly the ankle was a problem. Wasn't that much of a problem because he wasn't in a walking boot or anything like that. But Jeffrey Simmons absolutely tore up the Texans, and I have to imagine that they probably spent all week just like they did with Derrick Henry, trying to figure out how not to let Jeffrey Simmons wreck the game, and he did. Now, special teams game ball is pretty complicated, right?
Because who are you going to give it to?
Well, Randy Bullock, the cardinal sin of kicking, which is he pushes the 52-yarder or whatever. He pushes the 53-yarder to the right, which I get it. Randy's not a distance kicker, goes up to kick it. Now, they had too many men on the field, and so he gets a second crack at it from 48. Well, okay, you got your first shot at it. Now make the adjustment, and whatever you do, don't push it to the right because you've made the adjustment. You push it to the right the first time. You make the adjustment. You kick it over to the left, fine. You kick it short, fine. But don't
kick it
to
the exact
right.
same way.
Make the adjustment. And he didn't. So he doesn't get a game ball, and I don't think he really did anything that's deserving of a game ball after he got a game ball last week. Stonehouse is fine with the punting. Could be a little bit better. Nothing special there. He doesn't get a game ball. Robert Woods absolutely does not get a game ball. 2 huge mistakes. 1, the fumble. 2, he called for a fair catch at the 6-yard line. I mean, that's what high school kids do. You don't call for a fair catch at the 6-yard line. You lock your feet at the 8. You let the ball, because if it goes inside the 6, there's a 90% chance they're not going to be able to down it anyways. Because if it hits in there, they almost have to catch it in order to keep that from happening. So the risk and the reward, what's the difference between the 4-yard line and the 6-yard line? What's the difference between the 2-yard line and the 6-yard line? So you let it bounce and you try to get it. High school kids know to do that. Now, Robert Woods did have a good return that set up one of the touchdowns where they got the ball at the Houston 37, the Derrick Henry touchdown that we just played. They got the ball at the Houston 37, and that led to the first touchdown. So that wasn't all bad. But I'm going to give it to some guy I've never heard of before that I didn't even know was on the team.
I think I know what you're talking about, because when that happened, I looked at the person I was watching the game with, and I said, who the hell is that?
Some guy named Thompson.
There you go.
So Thompson and Hassan Haskins both get a game ball for their work in coverage on special teams, because Hassan Haskins had a great tackle on a kickoff and a good tackle on a punt. But this guy Thompson, who I've never heard of, and Haskins is getting in there on these kickoffs and these punts, going after it. But this guy Thompson made a great tackle that backed the Texans up, and the Texans are the kind of team that if they have bad field position, they ain't worth anything. I mean, the Texans.
Even if they have great field position, how much are they really worth?
Talking about
you said if they don't have great field positions, they're not really worth anything.
Yeah,
even with great field position, how much do you really trust Houston?
That is true. That is true.
But they are a team. The Titans handed them pretty solid field position, and they capitalize off of it.
So with that, those are our game balls. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to get in. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What do we have in our text line?
One texter texts in and says, no one should be allowed to wear 22 once Derek's career is over. What he's accomplished in today's game, where it's mostly passing, is unheard of, with a few exceptions to a few teams that run well too, but nothing compares to Henry.
So the Titans made an exception for Steve McNair and Eddie George. That is, the franchise rule is the only guys that get their numbers retired are the guys that are in the Hall of Fame. So Bruce Matthews, Mike Munchak, Warren Moon, all those guys are in the Hall of Fame. And so if you're in the Hall of Fame, you get your number retired. If you're not in the Hall of Fame, unless you're Steve McNair and Eddie George, you don't get your number retired. I mean, I think Derrick Henry belongs in the Hall of Fame. I really do. Now, I'm not a Hall of Fame voter, and this is why they do the 5-year thing, right? Which is they hold the 5-year period out so that
so it's not an overreaction to what they did in their career.
Not
See
like
if you can stand the
bias.
test of time.
That being said, I do worry that the 5-year period is going to hurt Derrick Henry. The 5-year wait period. But what he has done for the last 4 years, really now the last 5, what he's done for the last 5 years is Hall of Fame worthy. I think he is playing at a Hall of Fame caliber. And Derrick Henry is going to single-handedly carry this team to the playoffs 4 years in a row and 3 straight division titles. And again, the thing that's crazy about Derrick Henry is that, remember early in the season when I realized that Treylon Burks wasn't going to replace A.J. Brown? And I kept saying, so does this just mean more work for Henry and Tannehill, or are other guys going to pick up the slack? And the reality is it just means more work for Henry and Tannehill. Well, yesterday was an example of it being more work for Henry because they don't have anybody on offense. And he still went out there and dominated. And so when everybody at one point in the third quarter, I wrote in my notes, the Titans broke the Texans' will. And I know the Texans aren't that good, but Derek's done this in playoff games. Derrick Henry does this every year. And I think Derrick Henry should be in the Hall of Fame. I really do. And that's why I was so hurt for him last year when he broke his foot, because he was on pace for 2,000 yards and he was going to win another rushing title. And I'm like, if a guy rushes for 2,000 yards back-to-back seasons and wins 3 straight rushing titles, that's going Hall of Fame worthy. He's going to go. And so I almost felt like Derrick had to win another rushing title or B-League MVP or carry the Titans to the Super Bowl or all of that. And I just don't think that that's very likely. So I just, thought after he broke his foot that he wasn't going to end up in the Hall of Fame. And here I am today thinking that he probably won't end up in the Hall of Fame. And there's still a story to be finished here. But I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame. And maybe it's just, local bias on me. But I've never seen this before. I've never seen. I started watching football in like 1998. So that's the end of Emmitt Smith. So post Thurman Thomas, post Barry Sanders, like right when Barry Sanders retired. So since then, the Hall of Fame running backs, Terrell Davis. Now, he did it only for a couple of years, but they won championships. Marshall Faulk, he was more out of the backfield as a pass catcher. I don't think Edgerrin James belongs in the Hall of Fame. I certainly think Derrick Henry's better than Edgerrin James. I believe Derrick belongs in the Hall of Fame. If Derrick gets in the Hall of Fame, they'll retire his number. If Derrick doesn't get in the Hall of Fame, I would still retire his number, but, those are their rules. So make of that what you will. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in. So we'll get back to your phones. But the one thing that I cannot stress enough about what we get to watch, we'll get to that coming up here on a Titans Monday, 615-737-1025. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. I love Hiller. Fall means cooler weather is coming, so make sure your family is warm in your home with this special deal from Hiller. This month, take advantage of Hiller's Happy HVAC Comfort Bundle, which includes HVAC replacement, a germicidal UV light, an extended 10-year warranty, and you'll get a free Solo smokeless stove. Or get a free Solo stove with a new whole home generator or whole home water filtration and descaler. Plus, Hiller is offering 0 interest for up to 12 months on these purchases. Hiller's work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Service is Free guarantee, and I know this because I use Hiller at my home. I love Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. They are proud supporters of the Tennessee Volunteers. They are fired up for the game this Saturday. Proud supporters of the Preds and Vandy as well. Hiller, call the Happy Face truck today.
ESPN Titans NFL Nation reporter Teron Davenport brings knowledge.
3 touchdowns. He was processing, getting rid of the ball quickly.
Passion.
Make no mistake about it. He absolutely has to hit the ground running.
And expertise on the two-tone blue and the NFL. Join TD every Monday at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Friday morning at 8 for all the latest on your favorite team. Teron Davenport is presented by Craneworks on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Have you seen the selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches they now have at Genesis Diamonds? If not, prepare to be amazed.
If people really know the watch world, they come in and they're in shock. They're like, I cannot believe you have this selection here. They're able to see them, touch them, feel them.
Meet Genesis watch expert Charlie Rivers, who says over the past few years, Genesis buyers have scoured the world to build a collection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes, including all the hard-to-find models.
Daytonas, Pandas, Sky Dwellers, a huge selection of Submariners, Hulks, Kermits, anything that you could ever possibly want. We have every luxury pre-owned Rolex that we have here. We ensure that it's in pristine condition.
So come in today and find the timepiece of your dreams at Genesis. Or if you already own a Rolex and are looking to trade for a different model or even sell it, Genesis can help you get top dollar.
If you have a Rolex, definitely bring it in. I would love to see it and do a complimentary evaluation on it and see what we can do for you.
Genesis Diamonds, now with one of the largest selections of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in America. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Need cash for the holidays or to pay off credit cards right now? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. This is great. You can keep your low mortgage rate and still get cash out. That's right. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low rate. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will come your way, and it only costs you around $300 a month. Use that money to pay off whatever bills you have, credit cards, consolidate other debt, or start a home improvement project. With Loan Pronto, you can access up to 95% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need the appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Do it now before the holidays. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Harman Energy is now hiring drivers for their Nashville team. Harman Energy is Tennessee's petroleum solution for major industries. Right now, they're offering competitive compensation. Fuel tank wagon drivers start at $26 an hour. Fuel transport drivers, $29 an hour. Plus, there's a $4,000 sign-on bonus for CDL drivers. Top quality benefits and a great place to work, Harman Energy employees provide totally outrageous customer service. Come be an employee owner with the Harman team. Apply now at harmanenergy.com.
Coming up on the Tuesday edition of Chase, Willie, and D-Mace, we'll talk to Predators General Manager David Poyle at 11:15, plus our weekly visit with NFL analyst from ESPN, Tim Hasselbeck, at noon. The fun begins at 10 right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, Nashville, this is Rick Stockstill, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Here you go, 4th and short, and I don't think there's any question here. With the way you've been able to run the football, with the holes that you've been able to open up, with Derrick Henry, to me, chance to be able to get it, another 7 points.
Well, you can see Willis's mom and dad looking on. Willis going to give it to Henry, going to step into the end zone for the touchdown. Everyone on the Houston side of the football so convinced that Henry was going to go right up the middle, he just walked around the outside.
Yeah, they just put an extra offensive lineman in there, and they just seal everything off, and that's about as easy as it gets.
Derrick Henry, 4th down and 1. Handoff to Henry. He walks into the end zone untouched. I was not worried about Derrick Henry not getting the 1 yard to get in the end zone for the touchdown. Do you know what I was worried about?
That the play call wouldn't be to just run it with Derrick Henry?
That it'd be some stupid crap, and it was not. Just give the ball to Derrick. Just give it to Derrick.
And isn't it sad that we are praising Todd Downing for doing just the absolute minimum and doing what's probably expected of just giving the ball to the one guy who's been carrying it all day long, has been carrying it very well?
Did you see what Todd Downing accomplished yesterday?
I do not know.
Ian, did you see what Todd Downing accomplished yesterday?
I don't think so.
With the Carolina Panthers offensive output yesterday against the Atlanta Falcons, the Tennessee Titans are now officially 32nd in the NFL in total.
All right.
Congratulations to Todd Downing. There you go. All right. Now, let me just say this before we get to your phones. I am not going to tell you how to raise your children, but if you've got children that love the Titans, if you've got an 8-year-old or you've got a 9-year-old or you've got, just let them know what we get to watch from Derrick Henry at this point in our lives is not normal. And this is what really sucks, is that, Derrick might have a great game on Sunday Night Football. He really might, because he did it when everybody watched in the playoffs in 2019, and, everybody knows Derrick Henry's good. But, like those games, nobody in this country watched that game, except for apparently people in Minneapolis, I think, and I think Phoenix.
Why were the games on there?
I don't know.
Random.
But other than that, and like Houston and here, nobody watched.
Maybe not even people in Houston. They've got bigger fish to fry. They've got a World Series game on their hands. There was nobody at NRG on Sunday.
Yeah, but I just think that's about how bad that team sucks more than anything else.
Oh, no, it is.
Because if it wasn't like the World Series was being played.
Well, if I got one team in the World Series and another team that's struggling to beat a team with a backup quarterback, I think I'm going to focus on the other team that's actually competing for.
So when I was in high school, the Braves played the Astros in the playoffs when the Astros were in the National League, and the Titans are playing the Texans the same day. And if the Yankees got eliminated early, then they were going to move the Braves and the Astros to a night game. So we were going to go to the Titans and the Texans, and then the Braves and the Astros.
Fun.
But if the Yankees were not, then we were going to go to the Braves and the Astros, and that's what we did. Well, this was not that. I mean, it wasn't like there's a World Series game yesterday. There's nobody there cares. I mean, because they.
Well, why would you
know
care?
What I was telling my dad yesterday about the Texans?
Huh.
And I did promise phones, and I promise we'll get back into them. The Texans were in the divisional round of the playoffs 3 years ago. So 2019, they won the AFC South, and they were in the divisional round of the playoffs, and they had like a 24-0 lead on Kansas City, and they lost. And yet it feels like the Texans have been bad for 10 years in a row. Like, when I think about how long it feels like the Texans have been bad for, it feels like they've been bad as long as Jacksonville has. It feels like they've been bad as long as Washington and Cleveland have been.
And I think it's because it was such a steep decline for Houston.
It was so
that they were relevant and competitive, and then all of a sudden they just weren't.
And I think it's other stuff, too. Like, even when they were good, or when they, good in quotations, when they won a division with Brock Osweiler as their quarterback, they still sucked. Like, even though they had J.J. Watt, even though they had Whitney Merciless, even though they had all those guys, that Brock Osweiler team was terrible. They benched him for Tom Savage. It was so bad. But it just feels like the Texans have been bad.
And they lost all their good players.
But it feels like they've been bad for forever.
What's it been, like 3 years?
Yeah. This is their third year.
Ever since Deshaun was no longer the quarterback anymore?
Like the Broncos have not made the playoffs since Peyton Manning retired. But it doesn't feel like the Broncos have been bad for that long.
No, it doesn't. And I think also, too, because the Texans, it feels like to me, have just been steeped in controversy as long as they've been bad.
Yeah, Bill
O'Brien.
O'Brien.
The whole Deshaun thing, the Bill O'Brien thing.
DeAndre Hopkins trade.
Yes.
Cutting J.J. Watt.
Uh-huh.
More Deshaun stuff.
The team chaplain.
Esterby.
Uh-huh. All of that stuff.
Oh, remember when they tried to hire Josh McCown as their head coach, even though he had no coaching experience, but he prayed with Esterby.
Yes.
And so they wanted to hire him.
He was a high school football coach.
And they fired David. Yeah, he
I
was a
forgot
quarterback 2
about
years
that.
ago. And they fired David Culley after one season, even though David Culley didn't do anything wrong. And, boy, I tell you. Davis Mills, by the way, looked like Dan Marino in the second half against the Titans last year. He didn't look like he's ever played quarterback before yesterday.
No.
My notes are color-coded. So if the Titans do something good, I write it in blue. If they do something bad, it's in red. If the refs make a call, it's in orange. And if the other team does something, it's in green. And I have a lot of green on my chart of bad throw, bad decision, bad.
He had those 2 big good throws. He had one to Brandon Cooks, and then I have it written down in my notes somewhere. But they had 2 good throws in the game. That was it.
But I think those were when the game was over, too.
Oh, no, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So,
But still, they happened.
Although I was driving yesterday at the end of the game because, I left because it was late. And so I left my parents' house after watching the game with my dad. And Mike Keith, boy, he had the radio audience scared to death that Kayemi Fairbairn was going with like 13 seconds, recover an onside kick. And honestly, the way Mike and Dave McGinnis were talking about it, you would think that they were arguing that Kayemi Fairbairn was going not only to kick a great onside kick, he was going to recover it himself, then he was going to take the ball, run it into the end zone for a touchdown. And the Texans were then going to go for 2, in which Kayemi Fairbairn would be the reason why they got it. And they were like, I was
a little bit nervous that was going to happen.
This game is not over. This game is, I'm like, guys. It's over.
Until Robert Woods recovered the onside kick, I was a little bit nervous.
And that's how they felt. But, I almost felt like I was arguing. I love Mike Keith to death. But I'm listening to them call the game, and I'm like, guys, it's over. Because there were like a minute and a half left when the Texans are driving. The Titans are clearly playing the prevent defense. And Mike Keith is like, now, in this case, they've got 1 timeout left, 1:34 to go. You have to be careful because Kayemi Fairbairn, the Texans kicker, is the best onside kicker in the league, which hey, 3 for 7. That is wild. Phones, 615-737-1025. What do we have in the text line?
Ben texts in and says, game ball to Tannehill for missing because we needed to see Malik play. Now we know he isn't the future. The future's not now.
I have a lot of thought. I do think that Malik is the future of the Titans. The future backup.
Which is fine. Which is fine.
But starting quarterback, we'll get into that. What's next?
Another texter checks in and says, good win. The fans online broke their own ankles with the Malik Willis takes, though. Flip-flopping on the man faster than I have ever seen. What did they expect?
I'll say this. I yesterday was about to have a meltdown at Twin Peaks because with Malik starting at quarterback, I just didn't know. I didn't think Malik could do anything. And in large part, I was kind of proven correct with how Malik really didn't do anything yesterday. And, everybody's like, well, it's his first start. And, guess what? If he has to play, I hope he doesn't. If he has to play on Sunday against the Chiefs, they don't care that it's his first start. It doesn't matter that it'll be his second game in the NFL. And, he got put into the game in the fourth quarter against the Indianapolis Colts when we still thought the Indianapolis Colts had a pulse. That is as high leverage as it gets. And that makes me incredibly nervous. It really does. And I feel like it was kind of confirmed 2 throws, the interception and the miss to Okonkwo, where he threw it square over his head when he was wide open. I'm sorry, this is the NFL. Those throws need to be made. You can't just turn the ball over every time you have to throw.
And even the interception, it wasn't some great, fantastic play by the DB. I mean, Malik Willis, it was totally just a timing thing, and he just threw it too far right of Cody Hollister.
Well, he threw it behind him, and he threw it late.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the definition of day late, dollar short.
Yeah.
You're not only not on time, but you also threw a bad pass.
Right.
That's bad. So, again.
But what did anyone expect, really?
I expected that.
Yeah.
But every time, remember when I said during training camp that Malik Willis stinks right now? And everybody was like, everyone got mad at me.
Yep.
That's what I meant. That he stinks.
Right now.
Right now. That doesn't mean that he will stink in the future. That doesn't mean that he won't get better. I'm going to tell you something that I did learn from the game. I do think Malik's really smart. I did notice that. A couple of the checks that he made at the line of scrimmage, I thought, as far as run plays, where I think he was probably flipping which side they were going to run to. And I do think that one of Malik's problems with timing is that Marcus had this problem too, where they would think too much about, what all have I been taught to do, and so it's not as natural.
Which I think also comes with time.
It does. Some guys never get out of that. Some guys do.
Sometimes you just need experience to be able to execute what you've been taught.
But I think Malik is thinking a little bit too much out there. And that's why he throws the ball late. Because he's just thinking. But I think Malik is smart. I think that it was on display yesterday that Malik, I believe, I could be wrong, I think Malik is a very smart football player. And that is a good sign as far as everything else is concerned. 615-737-1025. We'll get back into your phones. We'll get back into the Titans. We'll get back into Malik. But I do have one big take from Tennessee's win over Kentucky yesterday. We'll get to that. Then we're right back to the Titans. TriStar Moving, my official movers. I don't know anybody who gets excited about moving. Why? Because it's stressful. It takes a bunch of time. It's not fun. But when I found my friends at TriStar Moving, they made my outlook on moving so much better, and it's because they've got a great staff. I know the owners personally. Robert, saw him at the Preds game the other day. Garrett, good buddy. Those guys started this program from the ground up. They want to be proud of it, and they want you to come to them because they want to do a great job for you. I've known these guys now for 2 years. I moved a little bit 2 years ago this week. I moved with TriStar Moving, and I'm still talking about them. Why? Because it was a great experience. I refer all my friends to them, and this is what I tell everybody. Just get a bid. Moving is expensive. So don't just go to one moving company and have one moving company say, okay, it'll be this way. Get quotes from all these different movers. You get a free quote from TriStar Moving. That's TriStar Moving. They'll give you 10% off, too, when you tell them you heard me talking about them. That's 615-640-1219, or visit their website, nashvillemoving.org/radio, and they'll give you 10% off your entire move. 615-640-1219, nashvillemoving.org/radio. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you for 10% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Every Wednesday at noon.
No matter the down and distance and no matter the score, they're going to give him the football.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Chase, Willie, and D-Mace to talk all things Titans and NFL.
I hope that they're not throwing flags simply because the league wants to see more of them.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
They are not as good at wide receiver and the playmaking department.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon. Presented by Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars and by Ed Lee's Barbecue on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. A great-looking Halloween ahead of us. Not perfect. The possibility of a light sprinkle or two this morning into the afternoon, but most of us will stay dry. High temperatures upper 60s to right near 70 degrees.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Tune in to ESPN 102.5 The Game every Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 for ESPN's Trevor Maddich joining me, Jared Stillman, on Stillman & Company as we dive deep into the college football world and all the latest from the SEC. It's all brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
Signs First, Nashville's leading locally owned and operated sign and physical media company, has been supporting local community organizations for over 30 years. Signs First offers a 10% discount to all churches, nonprofits, and charities. Go to sfnash.com.
National Playmakers Academy with former Vols Bud Fitzgerald and James Stone, along with former Austin Peay Governor Vic Wright, offer one of the best football developmental organizations in the nation. MPA has over 30 NFL alumni, 800-plus college football scholarship signees, and 25 high school football All-Americans. If you have a student athlete in middle school or high school that is looking for the best football training and college football recruiting help around, contact National Playmakers Academy today, 615-456-2680, or email april.mpafootball@gmail.com.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required. Refund available for 60 days after purchase.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. You'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. Results are guaranteed or your money back. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexrode.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Hooker well protected. Wide open is Hyatt running free. A total bust and a quick strike for the Volunteers. 13th touchdown reception of the season for Hyatt. This from 55 yards. Man, do they stress the defense.
Yeah, you practice all week. You know you're going to be stretched sideline to sideline, which creates those vertical seams. You come up with a plan, and then you get hit in the mouth, and you got to make adjustments. They do it every single week to everybody they play.
Hooker looking instead to his left. Now moves back to the right. Launches. Wide open touchdown. Jalen Hyatt for the second time tonight. And the 14th time this season.
We just talked about they're going to create a matchup, right? We saw them do this so often. Josh Heupel talking there with Hendon Hooker. They are step for step in their communication, and Hooker is so dialed into this offense.
2 touchdowns there. Kentucky didn't have a chance on Saturday, setting up the game of the season. I believe Saturday's Tennessee-Georgia game is a play into the playoff. The winner will go to the playoff, because even if they win, like let's say Georgia wins, gets to the SEC championship, loses to Alabama.
They're in.
They're in. Tennessee wins.
Still could be in. If they lose to Georgia on Saturday, they still could be in.
They still could be.
There's a scenario.
But I think you got a better chance if you win this game and lose the SEC championship game than you do if you lose this game and then have to hope that who you lost to wins the SEC and then you get in as the one-loss non-East champion.
But it's not all over.
No. By no stretch of the
either team that
imagination.
loses.
No, absolutely not. But to me, it's like a de facto play-in game, because if you win this game,
then you have a clear path.
90% are in.
Clear. I would say even 95% in.
And so, I mean, this is the game of the season in college football. Not just here, not just in the SEC, not just until we get to Ohio State and Michigan. And I don't know what Ohio State and Michigan will look like then. I was kind of rooting for Ohio State to lose on Saturday, even though I knew they weren't going to.
It looked a little spooky there for a second.
It did. And Michigan killed Penn State so bad, I'm like, we should put Michigan ahead of Ohio State. Just saying. But I knew from the second series of that game that it was over. When Tennessee moved right down the field and they had a wide open touchdown for Jalen Hyatt, and then Kentucky goes 3 and out, I'm like, this game's over. And Matt Jones, Kentucky Sports Radio, came on our show last week, and I told him that I think Josh Heupel is the next great offensive guru in college football, very reminiscent of Steve Spurrier. And I see a lot of comparisons between the 96 Florida Gator team, the fun and gun, that I see with what Tennessee does right now. in terms of its ingenuity and how none of these teams in the SEC have answers to stop it. And Spurrier did that with average players. I mean, good college players, but average players, like guys that were not. Danny Warfel won the Heisman, and they won the national championship, and he was a fourth-round pick and never started really consistently in the NFL. Rydell Anthony was a first-round pick, but never had more than an 800-yard season. Ike Hilliard was a top 10 pick, and he was never more than a number 2 receiver in the NFL. Jacquez Green was never very all that good. Now, Fred Taylor's pretty good. But I say all of this because Matt Jones, kind of shamed me a little bit and made me feel bad for my Steve Spurrier, Chip Kelly, Bobby Petrino, take on Josh Heupel. And then on the first drive, Heupel schemes up a play that gets Jalen Hyatt wide open. These touchdowns are so open that I could run them and catch them and run into the end zone with them. There's not a guy in the TV picture. And I felt like the TV cameras on Saturday night were up there in the sky with the Lord, and we could see the whole field the whole time, and you see Hooker throw the ball, and there's nobody there.
And the astonishing thing is, Tennessee reuses a lot of plays. Yet there are still so many receivers that are wide open. And I believe Mark Stoops or Will Levis or so whoever on the Kentucky side of the sidelines was talking about how they practiced 2 of the plays that Tennessee scored on in practice. They practiced defending those, and they still couldn't stop those receivers.
And not only that, it's like those plays. We're talking about Derrick Henry. And about how Derrick Henry, the Texans spent all week saying, what do we do to keep Derrick Henry from running for 210 yards? And then Derrick Henry ran for 210 yards. Kentucky said, whatever you do, don't lose Jalen Hyatt. They love to do this. They love that. And yet, on the first series, nothing but green grass. Mm-hmm. I've never seen anything like it. And Tennessee is getting better and better and better every week. Everybody tells me their defense stinks, but I watched that game Saturday, and I didn't think their defense stunk.
It's because their defense did stink, and their defense is getting significantly better week over week.
They get better and better and better and better. And, look, Georgia, at some point this week, I'm sure we'll go over Mel Kiper Jr.'s rankings going into this game. I'm sure he will have updated the board. And I bet that, what was it? Alabama had 8, Tennessee had 3 on the Mel board. I bet Georgia probably has 11 and Tennessee probably has 4, on the Mel Kiper board. I don't care. Now Georgia's got a great team. Georgia
a lot of talent on that team.
Has a great defense. And this is kind of like people want to say, well, is it going to be Georgia's defense or is it going to be Tennessee's offense? And I'm here to tell you, I don't know. This is why I want to see this game, because I want to see if Tennessee's offense can go score 45 points on Georgia's defense. And I want to see if the new and improved Stetson Bennett can keep up with Tennessee, who I know is going to score some points. But, that Georgia defense, I am so excited for this game on Saturday. And I will say this with Tennessee. I think that I am the most fair commentator when it comes to Tennessee, because I'm not a Tennessee homer. But I thought this year they were going to go 10-2. But I'm telling you, what I watch right now, they remind me of the 96 Florida Gators, and that team won the national championship. And I told you after the Alabama win that everything was on the table, including the national championship. I do, bless you.
Thank you.
I do not know tomorrow how they'll rank them.
I'd be shocked if Tennessee wasn't 1.
I could see Georgia being 1 because of how bad they smoked Oregon.
Yes, but also Tennessee smoked a lot of teams on their schedule, too.
I know, but isn't Oregon like a top 10 team?
They were at the time that they played, or they were like 11 when they played them. I don't know what they are right now.
Yeah, the playoff committee always says
top
that they
in the
don't care
Pac-12
when they played them. But I do think they absolutely obliterated that team. Tennessee beat Alabama, but that game was at home.
And it also was a narrow win, yes.
Yeah, they didn't obliterate them. Again, I don't know, strength of victory here versus, whatever. It's going to be 1 versus 2. And whoever you want 1, whoever, it doesn't matter. But man, this Tennessee team, show me a team that can stop them. Can Georgia stop them? I don't know. That's what I want to see Saturday.
But also, if Georgia can't, I don't know who can.
I would agree. Now, I do think that we're not talking enough about Michigan. Now, I don't watch Michigan, but I do feel like we're not talking enough about them only because I saw how bad they beat Penn State, and then I saw Penn State gave Ohio State a run for their money, even though Ohio State found a way to cover in the end. But I mean, still, I do think this is the game of the year. 615-737-1025. The Vols will be worked in on Titans Monday, but it is Titans Monday around here. Coming up, Malik. Because a lot of good happened on Sunday for the Titans yesterday, but a lot of bad. And I think we got to be honest about Malik. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
You watch the game.
3rd and 9, pocket crumbling, down he goes. Hit on the play by Landry.
We talk the game.
Harold Landry? Boy, you sure should pay him, right?
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Calling a criminal defense lawyer or a divorce lawyer, you may think it's the worst day of your life. It doesn't have to be. If you have quality, competent representation who can guide you through a complex system, we can do that for you. Despite if you've been arrested for a DUI or a robbery charge, whether or not you're going through a divorce or a post-divorce, or demanding your fundamental constitutional right to parent your children. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Are you suffering from chronic joint pain like Heather?
I have terrible arthritis and have had it for quite a while, and I've gone to all kinds of doctors trying to figure out what to do, and everybody just said surgery, and surgery was months of rehab, and I didn't want to do that.
But then Heather discovered QC Kinetics, local medical professionals who specialize in natural biologic treatments, non-invasive solutions designed to repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints. And she absolutely loves the results.
I like to tell anybody who's suffering that there are options that are not steroids, that are not surgery. You owe it to yourself to find out about QC Kinetics and find out what they can do for you.
No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Discover QC Kinetics and learn more about natural biologic treatments with lasting results.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. Don't wait. Call today. QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too. If you feel symptoms, even if they're mild, you should test fast. Test positive and at high risk for severe COVID-19? Then act fast with authorized oral treatments that can be taken at home and must be taken within 5 days from when symptoms begin. COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too by asking your healthcare provider if an oral treatment is right for you. Learn about a treatment option at treatcv19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne.
Chase Elliott scores the win in the Ally 400 at the Nashville Superspeedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game set.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the offices of Amanda J. Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Titans Monday. So every Titans Monday, I rewatch the Titans game, and I write notes on each of it. Then on Tuesday, the coach's tape becomes available, so I circle certain plays and I go back to watch. If I don't know what happened on a certain play, then I can get it figured out. This morning, I debated whether or not I should watch the Titans tape. And the reason I debated it was because, honestly, it takes a long time to rewatch the game. And then if I see something on a certain play, I want to rewatch that play again. And so it probably takes me about 2 hours to rewatch the game. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of time. And I just don't think a lot of people are going to want to talk much about this Texans game. I think everybody's going to want to move forward to Kansas City. And let's not kid ourselves. What can we take away from yesterday's game that would have anything to do with Kansas City?
Derrick Henry.
But is he going to be able to run for 210 yards against Kansas City?
Probably not, no.
And so, but I did anyways. Malik. I'm just going to say this, and I mean this with all due respect. The Tennessee Titans need a new backup quarterback because Malik Willis ain't it. And I think there's two things that we have to separate here, which is, does Malik have potential to be a good quarterback or even a good backup quarterback in the future? That's the first question. The second question, because everybody will tell you, I thought Malik was terrible yesterday. Everybody will tell you, oh, it was his first start. I mean, what were you expecting? He's just in his first game. He's in there for 15 minutes.
Which is true.
Vrabel even said it after the game yesterday. This was Vrabel talking about Malik.
Malik was his first NFL start, on the road. Crowd noise, all those things. So, we tried to do what we felt like gave us the best chance to win the football game. And, that's going to change each and every week.
Okay. Not wrong. It was his first start. But there's two separate things here. Can Malik be a future player in this league, whether it's a starter or a backup? Can he be, a future guy? And can he be the backup on an AFC contender right now? The first part, I don't know the answer to. The second part,
I know the answer to, and
no,
he cannot.
He can't. And so going back to that line of thinking, right, that it was his first game.
Which is true.
Let's take this Kansas City game Sunday. Let's say it's an AFC divisional playoff game, and Ryan Tannehill gets hurt. Do you have any faith in Malik Willis?
No, I don't.
To even just run the offense?
I mean, he ran the offense yesterday.
Not well.
But, I mean,
they're going to have to throw if they play somebody better than the Texans.
If the game plan is going to be just hand the ball off to Derrick Henry, which is exactly what the game plan was yesterday, then yeah, he can do that.
So it was funny because
But you're not going to win a game against the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills just simply by running the ball.
On the pregame show, Chris kept talking about how Todd Downing has to make the game plan simple for Malik, and they have to not put Malik in situations to fail, and they have to. And I said to both of them, I go, that's great, but the game dictates what you ask the quarterback to do. The game dictates it. So if the Titans find themselves down 14-3 in the third quarter, we can sit there with the game plan all we want and say, hey, run the ball. But if you're down 14-3 because you fumbled a punt or you missed a field goal or all these things, you're going to have to throw the ball. He can't throw. I mean, he had 2 throws yesterday. 2 throws. The interception, terrible. The ball on the sideline for Chigakonkwo, terrible.
Bad throw.
Even probably the best throw he made yesterday, the one to Robert Woods, was late. Adam Archuleta on the TV broadcast was like, he had Robert Woods open the whole time. He waited to throw it, and Woods caught it and ran up with it or whatever. He cannot throw. So, can Malik be a guy in the future? Again, let's put this off to the side right now. We'll get to that in a second. Can Malik be the backup quarterback for this team that has an 82% chance to win their division? No.
No, it doesn't look like it.
They need a new backup quarterback. They need a new backup. And you can sit there and say, well, Tannehill hasn't gotten hurt ever other than this past game.
Well, I'm not going to bank on that.
All of that. But just know, a couple years ago in the playoffs, Patrick Mahomes into concussion protocol, Chad Henne in the game. Is Chad Henne any good? No. But Chad Henne has experience in the NFL. The Titans are a good enough team. They are a competitive enough team that they need a backup with experience in the NFL. And I go back to what Vrabel said when he took the job and he was asked about backup quarterback. And he was comparing it to a reliever in baseball and about how the backup quarterback's job, and I'm paraphrasing what he said 5 years ago or whatever, but what he said was a backup quarterback has to be able to get the Titans through the game. And so when it comes to backup quarterback, I am thinking about a 1-game sample size or a 1/2 sample size or a 1/4 sample size, which is Tannehill's out. You're playing the Cowboys Thursday night football. You're playing the Chargers wild card weekend. Tannehill's out. 8 minutes to go in the third quarter. You got a 3-point lead or you're down by 7. I need that guy to be able to get me through the end of that game. That's, a guy that can just make enough throws. I just need that guy. Malik can't do it. So my number one assessment of the current 2022 Titans, if you want the Titans to prioritize developing a young quarterback that may never make it over winning right now with a team that has an 82% chance to win their division, then you and I are not going to see eye to eye. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because we talked about it during training camp. Can he really be the backup? And the answer is no. He can't be. They're playing with fire with this. Now, the second thing, can Malik develop into a guy down the road? Maybe. The one thing I'll say about Malik that I took away from yesterday's game is I think Malik's smart. I think I watched enough of it that Malik never tried to do anything that he wasn't coached to do, which I think is a big step because a lot of these guys want to get out there and just put the talent on display and just let it flow, and I didn't like that. I don't like when a guy has a good team around him and says, all right, we're going to do things my way. But Malik didn't do that. So, I see the processing at the line of scrimmage. I see it when he was dropping back to throw. There was one where I think Malik took a sack on it where he thought, he pumped and it wasn't open, and I circled it because Adam Archuleta said on the TV broadcast that he didn't see a guy open down the field, but I want to see the tape for myself to see what was there, if there was no dump off for Malik. But Malik is clearly smart, which is a good step because a lot of that position is in between the ears, and he's got that. But, will he develop? I couldn't tell you that. But as far as being the backup right now, he can't be the backup on this team.
Well, and I think that you can look at his development. I think that in each preseason game, he got better and he looked more confident. I think you can look at that as a promising sign. But also, I don't see Malik Willis in practice every day. I have a very tiny sample size of what I've seen from Malik Willis. So in terms of can he be the backup of the future? I don't know. Maybe. But I think another thing that
the future backup.
Yeah, cool. Woohoo. One thing that was a little discouraging for me yesterday was what have we heard so much about Malik Willis? Explosive runner, can extend plays with his legs. I didn't see him doing very much of that yesterday. When he elected to hold on to the football, he didn't look like an explosive runner.
I did question that when they talked about, wanting to get the ball in his hands on these gimmick plays. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Malik's fast, but he's fast for a quarterback. Is he fast for a regular player?
When you've got the best running back in the league on your team.
Like Lamar Jackson is fast for anybody. But is Malik fast for a regular player? I don't know what the 40 times said or whatever. I just don't.
I do think there's talent there. I just didn't see it yesterday.
I don't think Malik can get them through a game. I don't think Malik can get them through, again, Thursday night football on the road at Green Bay, Titans up by 4, 7 minutes to go in the third quarter, Tannehill's in the concussion protocol. I don't think they can win with Malik Willis if that happens because you're only up by 4 against Green Bay. I know that they're not very good right now, but Rodgers threw some dimes yesterday. We know he still got it. Maybe not as great with the receivers, but we know Aaron's a 4-point lead at Green Bay on Thursday night football is not safe in the third quarter.
Oh, no.
And you know that if Malik comes in, the Packers are bringing everybody to the line of scrimmage, and they are not letting Derrick Henry run up the middle. And they're better than the Texans. So Malik's going to have to make some throws on the road at Green Bay. And I'm not saying he's going to have to make a bunch of throws or he's going to have to throw over 340, but he's going to have to make some throws.
He's going to have to do more than what he did yesterday.
When Blaine Gabbert was the backup here, Blaine Gabbert came into a couple of those games, and he made those throws. And that's what they need. They need to call Tampa Bay And they need to try to get Blaine Gabbert in here to back up Tannehill. Now, Tampa might not do it, but I do think the Titans need a better backup than Malik. And yesterday, it was obvious. And again, I'm not taking anything away from Malik's potential by saying what he is now. But he can't throw.
But what kind of message does it send to Malik?
It doesn't matter, right?
I mean, we were the ones that were complaining about the message that it sent to Tannehill when he threw an interception and got benched from Malik Willis.
Tannehill is my what?
Your quarterback?
My starting quarterback.
Yes.
Malik Willis is...
potentially maybe the quarterback of the future?
Maybe my future backup. Or maybe my future guy. I cannot prioritize the development of Malik over the needs of the 2022 Titans. You know, there are some teams. I think the Chicago Bears are a good example of this last year, where they decided to play Justin Fields as opposed to roll with Andy Dalton. And the coach wanted to go with Andy Dalton. Why? Because the coach knew they had a better chance to win with Andy Dalton as their quarterback. The Dolphins, when Tua was a rookie, you know, Ryan Fitzpatrick was doing great, but they benched him for Tua because they wanted to prioritize Tua's development over a need at that time for that team, which would be Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's fine. But this team right now is the number 2 seed in the AFC.
No, I hear you.
You know, so I am prioritizing the winning of the 2022 Titans over the development of Malik. And I would tell Malik, this has nothing to do with you as far as our belief in you or the future, but it does have to do with where you are right now. And he may not like it. I mean, again, Malik's a smart kid. I could tell that yesterday watching him play. But again, 8 minutes to go, divisional round playoffs on the road at Kansas City, up by 4. Blaine Gabbert might be able to get me through it. Case Keenum might be able to get me through it. Now, Case Keenum's not going anywhere. He's the backup in Buffalo. But like one of those guys, I'd rather have than Malik. It's just not there. And that's not a knock on him and his future. It's just where I feel like they are now. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Your reaction to Malik's first performance, 615-737-1025 here on the program. And I will say this. I was stunned by one decision that was made yesterday. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5-1063 The Game. Let me tell all the fine folks out there here on this Titans Monday that be sure to follow us on Instagram at 102.5 The Game Nashville. And when the Preds have a weekday game this season, it's your chance to participate in Preds Pick to Click. Brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty and Superbook Sports. If you guess a Preds player that scores a goal in the game that night, you win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. Next chance to participate is tomorrow morning at 8:45 with Robbie and Rexroad.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
He looks like 1,000 quarterbacks I've seen in a college game.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
The coaching staff kept him and got rid of the other guys.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
If he's so great in the locker room, then give him a coaching gig.
Chad Withrow is presented by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order your new Ford from Two Rivers Ford on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Mark your calendars. The sweetest costume party on the block is just around the corner. Make your way to the Lodge, October 28th through 31st for scenic views and dressed-up dining. Plus, they'll be featuring scary good deals on their favorite cocktails, shots, drafts, and more. See you soon.
Hey football fans, Patrick Mahomes here, and I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
In today's economy, employers and employees should be working together to create safe, good-paying jobs with no unnecessary government overreach. Right to work does not belong in the state constitution. Tennesseans, this voting season, vote no on Amendment 1. Visit TennesseeWorkersAlliance.org, paid for by the Nashville Building Trades.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here. Now's the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet doesn't win. All you got to do is sign up with promo code ROB. FanDuel is very easy to use. They've got great live betting options. You get your winnings paid quickly to you as well. And this NFL season, Derrick Henry is coming on strong. I'd look for him over on rushing yards most weeks, but that's totally up to you. You can take it whatever way you want to take it. Just make sure you do it on FanDuel Sportsbook, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Sign up today with promo code ROB for your no-sweat first bet. Once again, that promo code is ROB. Make every moment more with this season with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you 24/7 with supplies and solutions for every industry and access to product specialists ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The final matchup of the Tennessee basketball team's 3-game series with Colorado is coming to Nashville. Don't miss the Tennessee Volunteers versus the Colorado Buffaloes at Bridgestone Arena Sunday, November 13th. Be there to witness your Volunteers in action as they look to run their all-time record against Colorado to 5-0. Sunday, November 13th, Bridgestone Arena. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Presented by Red Cap.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
New set of downs for the Titans. Willis to throw over the middle, intercepted. Picked off in the middle of the field by Steven Nelson. Nelson with blocking in front of him and out of bounds in the red zone. And the turnover has set up the Houston Texans.
Well, this was so well played by Steven Nelson, but Malik Willis was a little bit late. Watch, the ball should be out now. It's not, and he hangs it back inside. You see, he's almost in past that hash mark. The ball goes inside, and you can't play that any better than Nelson. But to me, that was all a matter of timing on the route and not putting it out in front. That was a mistake by Willis. And Nelson, who has done a really nice job, all the corners here, whether it's Nelson or Stingley or King, they've all done a pretty good job in coverage. They haven't tackled well, but they've done a good job in coverage. But that's Nelson taking advantage of a bad throw by Willis and making a huge play for their defense.
There you go. That was the Malik interception. And I know it's his first game. I get it. But guess what? If he has to...
The NFL doesn't care if it's your first
Nobody
game.
cares. If Ryan Tannehill gets knocked out of a playoff game and Malik has to come in, that'll be his first playoff game. And none of us will remember that it was his first playoff game, but we will remember if they lose.
And I think a lot of people have to understand that when we're talking about the Malik Willis / the backup quarterback conversations, they're two completely different conversations through different lenses. If you're talking about Malik's development and his future with the Titans versus let's look at the 2022 season and what gives the Titans the best opportunity to win.
I think the Titans are trying to have
totally
their
different
cake and eat it too here with Malik.
What do you mean by that?
I think they want Malik. They want to develop him on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And they use the pick on him, and they want to see. I think the Titans think in their head that Malik, it probably is going to be a backup. You know, like that long term is going to be a backup.
I don't know. Can you think that right now?
I do, yeah, because I think he's so far behind right now where they would expect a starter. But not that he couldn't be a starter, just that, you know, being realistic about it. But that they want to develop him and see. You know, let's see where it goes. But I think at the other side, it's if something happens to Tannehill and he has to go in the game, I think they convince themselves that, you know what, he'll be fine. You know, we'll protect him. We'll do what we did against the Texans and run the ball 800 times and all those things, and that's But I think deep down inside they probably know that they can't do that. Like, let's just use this week as an example.
You cannot do that against the Chiefs and expect to win.
Do that. You're not with Chris Jones and Nick Bolton, and no. And then what they're going to do is they're going to make Malik throw the ball down the field. And so I just think that the Titans are kind of trying to get away with it without having to address the fact that the backup quarterback situation is just not good enough. You know, whether it's Logan or what, like, it's not good enough. That you need a guy, as Vrabel said, that can finish a game. They can go into the Kansas City game, and when you run a passing play, can throw the ball in the passing play. Ain't going to throw it great, no matter who it is, but can at least run the passing play. I mean, there was one play, the one where Malik ran it and got down to the 1 yard line on third down, where something was messed up because he went to fake it to Derek, but Derek was already on the other side and by him, and it was like, just go. And he just ran with it. You can do that against the Texans.
You can't do that against the Chiefs.
I wouldn't.
I don't want to.
I don't want to test it. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Your analysis of Malik's performance. 615-737-1025. I think the Titans need to do something at backup quarterback. Titans in Truth. Chris is up next here on Stillman and Company. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Chris.
Jared, my friend, Miss Caroline, I know I'm probably going to get crushed for what I'm about to say. First off, Derek is a Hall of Famer in the making. I'm going to get that out of the way. Enough said. He's a Hall of Famer. Defense was lights out. Yes, Malik had his struggles, and it was apparent. But the question I want to ask is, I think also part of it could have been, did Todd Downing and Mike Vrabel hold him back and really not let him loose? I was thinking maybe they would do some read option with him, getting out on the edge, running a little bit, use his run ability. I just don't think Malik could ever get in a groove to where it's like, you know, you can scheme some guys open. You can scheme it the way to get some easy completions for him, get him, you know, feeling comfortable. I think the game is a little bit too fast for him, at least right now. I think there's still potential for him to be the future starting quarterback at some point. Obviously, he's not ready yet. He's not ready, but I would definitely rather have it in his hands and at least have a chance to get better than put it in, say, Logan Woodside's hands, which we know what that's going to mean.
Well, would you rather have it in his hands, or would you rather have it in, say, you know, and I'm just using this as an example, they couldn't get him, but would you rather have him as the backup or Case Keenum? Would you rather have it in his hands or Blaine Gabbert's?
I'd rather go with Malik over Blaine Gabbert. Case Keenum, I can see the point, but I'd rather go with him than Blaine Gabbert.
So, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Chris. Good call. I hear what you're saying. I disagree. For the start, I don't think Vrabel and Downing held Malik back yesterday.
I think that they were just trying to get through the game, and that was the best possible way to do it.
I mean, they gave him some gimmies. You know, that one to Robert Woods where, you know, Woods was open the whole time, throw it short, Woods runs up. You know, third down, quarterback draws because they didn't trust Malik to throw it. You know, he threw one over the middle on third and long to Okonkwo, and the linebacker hit him right there. I did not. In fact, I actually applauded the play calling because they realized very quickly, just give the ball to Derek. And you know, that 4th and 1 at the goal line, I knew Downing was going to do something stupid. And he didn't. He gave the ball to Derek, and Derek walked into the end zone untouched. In fact, it was great because they brought in Radens as the extra tackle. Mm-hmm. Then they motioned the tight end over so they have an extra tackle on the right side and
an extra tight end blocking.
And they still ran it that way, and Derek was untouched. I don't think that. Now, I think the question that I have is, who would you rather have be the backup quarterback of the Titans? Somebody who has experience in the NFL or what you saw from Malik yesterday? For me, it is not a hard question. I think it is very simple. It is somebody with experience in the NFL because you know you're one of the 4 best teams in the AFC. You know it. You know that, like, Buffalo and Kansas City are good, and how much better is Kansas City? We'll find out Sunday. I don't know. But you have an 82% chance to win your division and an 88% chance to make the playoffs. The Titans are going to make the playoffs. They are going to win the division. So at that point, now we start talking about playoffs. Now we start talking about the Ravens, the Bengals, the Chargers, all these other teams that may come in here. And I don't think Malik Willis can come into the middle of one of those games and do anything for them other than hand the ball off to Derek, and Brian Hoyer can do the same thing. But can Brian Hoyer throw a couple of passes just to keep a team's defense off balance if he has to? And the answer is yes. And so to me, that's what I think they have to go get. They have to go get somebody that has some experience in this league who doesn't need to practice, because Malik needs to do all the practicing on the show team, but somebody that can stand there, know the game plan, and be ready to go and be able to throw it better than Malik right now.
But I think, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but what Chris was trying to say, I think, or at least the school of thought that he belongs in is, okay, well then you're taking away valuable opportunity from Malik Willis to be able to grow. And if you do believe in him and being the future of this franchise, then it's not fair to take those opportunities away from him and give him to some random backup that you might find on the street. I'm not saying that I believe that or if I agree with that. I'm just saying I see that line of thinking.
But is there any good team out there that prioritizes developing a young quarterback over that team winning in that moment?
No, because I don't think that there are very many teams out there that are developing a young quarterback that are also competing potentially for the AFC.
I'll tell you one that did it last year. San Francisco.
It's true. Yeah.
And they played Trey Lance against the Texans.
Yep.
Late in the season. Jimmy had a thumb injury, and they played Trey Lance, and they had 3 first-round picks invested in Trey Lance. Like the Kansas City Chiefs had 2 first-round picks invested in Patrick Mahomes when they did that. But like the Buffalo Bills, who's their backup? Case Keenum. There's no thought. Case Keenum never does anything with the starters, ever. If Josh Allen goes down, the Bills are in deep trouble. But Case Keenum can get them through the game. That's where I look at the Titans and I'm like, if they had Bridgewater as their backup.
Right, you'd feel a lot more comfortable with that.
Much better of them getting through the game. And so that's where I feel like the Titans, this game proved it to me. Because I've been saying it, in training camp. Because what we saw yesterday in the game, the indecisiveness from Malik, the inability to let it rip, overthrowing guys, underthrowing guys, throwing the ball behind guys. What we saw yesterday, I saw in training camp. The interceptions that you can't have, I saw them against the Arizona Cardinals. So that's why I kept saying, are you okay if Tannehill rolls an ankle with him going in there? And then Tannehill rolled an ankle, and there he is against the Colts. And I'm like, oh, dear God, Lord, please no. And, now we have it. Okay, this is what it is. And what it is right now for me is not good enough. Could he develop into a good quarterback? I'm not ruling that out. But right now, this is not what this team needs. Unless you want to prioritize developing the young guy over winning for the 2022 Titans. And teams that draft quarterbacks in the first round prioritize developing the young quarterback over winning, just like the Steelers.
Usually because you're not competing for anything if you just drafted a quarterback in the first round.
Normally, if you draft a quarterback in the first round, you suck.
Yes.
Then you're not prioritizing it. And that's where I feel like the Titans are right now, which is they can't develop the kid and give themselves the best chance to win with this team right now in the current capacity that they want it to. But I don't think they can. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We will go to your phones on this here on Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025. Caroline, tell us about the Caesars Sportsbook app.
It is time for the Caesars Sportsbook Report. Now, before we get into all the fun stuff, the odds, the spreads, the picks, just remember that your first bet is on Caesars up to $1,250. They've got you covered. So download the app and use the promo code RadioFull, one word, RadioFull, and then wager. And if you win, then congratulations, but if not, don't worry about it because you will get that stake back as a free bet. Now, Caesars has a bunch of odds boosts going on tonight. I'm looking at Nick Chubb over 99.5 rushing yards and over 1.5 touchdowns tonight at plus 650 odds when the Browns take on the Bengals tonight. Open to new users in Tennessee who are 21 or older. If qualifying bet loses, bet amount returned as a credit. Most used within 14 days. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Caesars Sportsbook. You bet, you get.
Want a chance to win tickets to an upcoming Preds game?
Yes!
Tune in to Robbie and Rex Road every weekday Preds game day at 8:45 for Preds Pick to Click. Guess a goal scorer and win.
I will take Roman Yossi.
Matt Duchene.
Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are referred so often. And by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today.
Preds Pick to Click.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Genesis is actually a new beginning.
Genesis Diamonds owner Boaz Ramon talking about why it's called Genesis.
I love the symbolism of the name. It's a new beginning.
Boaz wanted the name of his company to mean something, to reflect his core values and the importance of starting relationships for people in love, as well as the relationship he wants with each and every customer.
It's a new beginning in their life for the relationship between us, the jeweler, the Genesis Diamond, and the customer, and it should last forever. Everything we do is for the customer.
Walk into Genesis and you can feel it. Genuine people who are solely focused on celebrating the best moments of your life.
It's not only my passion, it's my culture. Genesis is the book where God created the world, the day and night, the man and the woman. Every diamond engagement ring that we specially created for the customer is a new beginning for amazing, lasting relationship.
Come start your amazing, lasting relationship today at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Need cash for the holidays or to pay off credit cards right now? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. This is great. You can keep your low mortgage rate and still get cash out. That's right. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low rate. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will come your way, and it only costs you around $300 a month. Use that money to pay off whatever bills you have, credit cards, consolidate other debt, or start a home improvement project. With Loan Pronto, you can access up to 95% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need the appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Do it now before the holidays. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Yo, Pablo Torre here, host of the ESPN Daily Podcast. When you want to go beyond your feed, when you want to get inside the score, when you want to get behind the highlight, there's ESPN Daily. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Pablo Torre. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Tune in for the Tuesday edition of Robbie and Rex Road. We'll have Caroline Fenton coming on at 7 o'clock to discuss the Tennessee-Georgia matchup this weekend. Teresa Walker at 8 o'clock. And Chris Mason talking Preds at 9:30. It all gets started at 6 o'clock. Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
What's up, Nashville? This is Stephen A. Smith. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5, The Game.
What's that week been like, just as far as like riding that roller coaster, not knowing if you're going to play, thinking you might, and then finding out that you are definitely going to be the starter?
I feel like I've been saying all week, I mean, all you could do is prepare like you're going to play, regardless if you think you are or you don't. And then that takes a lot of worries away from you.
There you go. That was Malik yesterday again. I mean, I think Malik's a smart quarterback. I think he's got potential. But I don't think that he can play backup for this team right now. And I think that, Sunday would be a good example of this, which is if he has to play against the Chiefs, if Tannehill gets hurt in the middle of the Chiefs game on Sunday and Malik comes in there, I don't really, in any capacity, unless they're up by 14 in the fourth quarter, I just don't think they're going to be able to win. And with this defense where it is right now, this running game where it is right now, they got to have somebody who can make some dinks and some dunks and can make some simple throws and get the offense into the right thing. They need a Sean Mannion or a Case Keenum or a Matt Barkley or a somebody that just has experience. That's just my take on it. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. What do we have?
One texter texts in and says, I'm not sure if anything happens during the regular season, but if the playoffs started next week, after what we saw yesterday, I think Logan Woodside would be on the roster.
Do we think, serious question, Titans are getting ready to play. What's the current playoff picture? I need to go ahead and do a quick dive in that because I think the Titans are technically the number 2 seed in the AFC right now.
I think that's true.
Is pretty wild to think about. Now, I mean, I'm not going to let any cats out of the bag other than to say I think it will be very hard for them to win on Sunday. But as of right now, they're the number 2 seed. In the AFC, I'm trying to see. NFL.com, freaking load. I have high-speed internet. What are you doing here? Whatever. So, okay, Titans
I'm guessing
are 2
Bills
seed.
number 1 seed, Titans 2 seed,
Titans
Chiefs
are 2.
3 seed.
So the team that they would play would be the Chargers.
Okay.
So let's say the Titans and the Chargers are playing the wild card round at Nissan Stadium on Sunday. And remember, if the Titans are the 2 seed and they win the wild card round, the divisional round game is at Nissan Stadium. So they're playing the Chargers tomorrow. Who's the backup quarterback? You're the coach.
Who's the backup quarterback?
Yeah. Woodside or Willis?
Probably Willis.
Ian?
That's a good question. Backup quarterback? I don't know, man. There were times during that game where I thought to myself, like, dude, Woodside would be better than this. Like, has to be.
But also,
I don't know if there's a difference between the whole week versus the middle of the game. You know, I don't know what the difference is. I don't know if that changes your mindset in the middle of the game, and maybe Willis can help you win the game more with his legs. I don't know. I don't know. I'm partly leaning Woodside.
Here's the other thing, too.
But Woodside doesn't have any experience either.
Here's the thing. They're going to have to decide on this by tomorrow because the trade deadline, unless you want to sign Sean Mannion, is he still on the Seahawks practice squad? Unless you want to sign Sean Mannion off the Seahawks practice squad, and he is still on there. Unless you want to sign him, I mean, you don't. That's the only option is a practice squad guy off somebody else's practice squad that knows your system, or you can make a trade tomorrow with somebody, and they'll give you the backup for a bag of balls. I mean, I heard Bill Polian say over the weekend on Sirius XM, Bill Polian said, like, Cam Akers wants out with the Rams. He wants to be traded by tomorrow. And that Polian said that he would give, like, a 7th-round pick if he wanted Cam Akers. That those guys are not going to go for anything. So a backup quarterback, if a team's willing to give it up, that guy's going for a 7th-round pick. So if, for instance, if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were willing to give you Blaine Gabbert, it would be for, like, a conditional 7th. And I'd much rather have Blaine Gabbert be the backup quarterback here.
Well, yeah, I think that's kind of obvious.
How about this? Would you give up Caleb Farley for Blaine Gabbert?
Yes.
Ian?
I would not, no.
Why?
I mean, I don't know, man. I can't do Gabbert.
Yeah, be better than Malik?
Is he? They won the game virtually the same way.
No, Gabbert threw
Houston
a game-winning touchdown pass. Gabbert threw a touchdown pass in that Houston game. That Houston team was 5 billion times better than this Houston team. And he threw a game-winning touchdown pass to Michael Pruitt against Washington when they were still the Redskins in 2018.
I don't know, man. Gabbert I don't think I could give up.
I mean, I know he stinks. I know he stinks, but all the backups stink.
They would never do that, though. Caleb Farley for Blaine Gabbert.
No, boy, that'd be some tea, though.
That would be some tea. That's how little we think of you. But to your point about, unless you're up 14-0 in the fourth quarter against the Chiefs, Malik can't go in there and win you a football game. How many backups in the league really can?
So I go back to Chad Henne when he came in for Mahomes in 2020, the year that they lost to the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, and they were playing the Browns, and it was a close game, and Mahomes got concussed. And so Henne had to come in, and they won that game. And I believe they were down when Henne went in. And, again, Chad Henne's not winning any awards, but that's what they need, is that Henne had been in the league for 15 years. I mean, he was in college when I was in middle school, and so he had been in the league for forever. And so Matt Moore, who was Tannehill's backup in Miami for all those years, that kind of guy who is just a backup. That's what he is. He's a backup, which is what I kind of thought Logan was all this time when he beat out Trevor Siemian a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But then I watched Logan play too much, and I think that Malik, probably affected Logan's ability, out there in training camp or whatever. But I do feel like I've soured on Logan Woodside for that regard. Phones, what do we have?
Liam texts in and says, we've done the Blaine Gabbert thing. If Tannehill goes down, we aren't going deep in the playoffs anyway. Of all the needs of the Titans, backup quarterback is pretty far down the list. We need a tackle and a receiver.
If Tannehill goes down in the middle of a game, that is different than, The Titans are getting ready to play the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. Boy, that'd be something. The Titans are getting ready to play the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl.
A.J. Brown Bowl.
Ryan Tannehill has a torn ACL and is out.
Knock on wood.
And so Blaine Gabbert is the starting quarterback, which, by the way, for the record, I would rather have Blaine Gabbert start the Super Bowl against the Eagles than have Malik Willis start the Super Bowl against the Eagles. But they're probably not going to win either game. But if they are in the middle of a game that is being played, Steve McNair had to come out of a playoff game against the Ravens when he hurt his shoulder and Neil O'Donnell went in. Steve McNair had to come out of a playoff game against the Steelers when he cut his thumb and had to get it taped up or whatever, and Neil O'Donnell came in for like a play. And Marcus Mariota and all the times he's at, you're never going to have a backup who's as good as your starter. I'm not saying the Titans are going to go out and get somebody really, really, really good to be their backup quarterback. Oh, boy, if they had like Taylor Heineke, I'd feel so much better. But I'm just talking about somebody that can just come in. That's all I'm asking. Just come in. Just give me a chance. Chad Henne. Just give me a chance. That's the guy they need. And I don't think Malik's that guy. The idea of like, well, it's a bigger need at receiver. Well, what kind of receiver are you talking about? Because I'm talking about, one of the 70th best quarterbacks in the NFL. If you want one of the 70 best receivers in the NFL, you can get one of the 70 best receivers in the NFL right now.
I think they got a few of them in the roster
already.
already.
Robert Woods is probably the 70th best receiver. I'm talking about, you can have more than one need at one time. The idea of the Titans filling their receiver need at the trade deadline is just not going to happen. So everybody needs to get that out of their head. I'm just talking about right now, based off of what we saw with Malik yesterday, I'm not putting him in a playoff game. I'm not putting him in. Stakes are as high or higher than that Colts game last week where Malik went in on 3rd and 9 and all of a sudden what was a passing down turned into a running down because they were not going to throw the ball with Malik on 3rd and 9 against the Colts because they can't throw the ball with Malik on 3rd and 9. Can't do that, in the next week. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. So we have Colorado, Tennessee basketball tickets to give away. Do not call, because we are not giving them away right now. We will give them away in the 5 o'clock hour for a pair of tickets to see the Tennessee Volunteers take on the Colorado Buffaloes at Bridgestone Arena on Sunday, November 13th. We will give these away in the 5 o'clock hour. We are going to have 2 trivia questions that I'm going to give you the answer to right now. One of the 2. And you're going to have to hear the other one. And then you're going to have to be listening in the 5 o'clock hour when we tell you that you have to call in and tell Ian the answers to the 2 things that I am telling you, and this is the first one. Because this is a basketball game at Bridgestone Arena, last week I told the story when I was talking about the passing of legendary Tennessee sports writer Joe Biddle about how when I was in high school, Tennessee played Oklahoma State at Bridgestone Arena in 2007, and that he did a Q&A along with Chris Lowe. So you're going to have to remember those 2 names. The 2 Tennessean sports writers that did a Q&A with high school students before the Tennessee-Oklahoma State basketball game. Chris Lowe and Joe Biddle. You'll need to remember that. Then we'll have the second clue, and then in the 5 o'clock hour, you have to call Ian, and you have to give him both clues. And if you're the first person that gives him both clues correctly, then you're going to the game. How you like that?
That was a lot. The full SAT of getting those tickets.
You want to go to the Tennessee-Colorado game?
I sure do.
That's what you got to do. 615-737-1025, and I should tell everybody out there, be sure to witness your Volunteers in action as they look to run their all-time record against Colorado to 5-0. Tickets are on sale now. Ticketmaster.com, presented by Red Cap.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Matich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. A great-looking Halloween ahead of us. Not perfect. The possibility of a light sprinkle or 2 this morning into the afternoon, but most of us will stay dry. High temperatures upper 60s to right near 70 degrees.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio, and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
Hey, it's Eddie George. You know we all have crazy busy lives and don't take time to research car insurance, right? Well, you don't have to. Xander Insurance does all the work for you. Their system shops over 15 top companies to find you the best rates, and they keep shopping every year. Their clients have saved an average of $600. That's why I'm a client. Xander gives me more options. More options means more savings. Get free quotes at XanderInsurance.com or call 800-356-1780.
What's up, everyone? It's me, Michelle Knezovic, and I want to know if you can beat Vegas this football season. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at Superbook in Las Vegas. Listen, I like the Tennessee Titans plus 305 to win the division. I still think that they have a chance to take the AFC South. Plus, Superbook features some of the best odds boosts and promos bets anywhere. So download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com. Start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit Superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
312 Pizza Company is a family-owned restaurant located in the heart of Germantown, serving up authentic Chicago-style eats right here in Nashville. 312 Pizza Company only uses the best all-natural ingredients and makes everything in-house from scratch every single day. And trust me, you can taste the difference. They've got deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, their Italian beef. You'll taste the freshness. Stop in for a pint of local beer and a slice of pizza, or order online at 312pizzaco.com. 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year,
Joe Rexrode.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
I mean, I think that we continue to try to figure out who we are. I think we have. That's going to have to change and modify. But I think the guys that have embraced it, there's a lot of examples that are going to be easy for me to coach from, whether that be penalties, operation, not getting enough turnovers, not taking care of the football, on the punt return and the interception there. So there'll be a lot of things to coach, and my job is to continue to coach them and demand a lot of them and get better and find ways to improve.
Glad Mike Vrabel said that after the game yesterday, because it was a good game from the Titans. Derrick Henry and Jeffrey Simmons balled out. Defense looked good. But let me say this. Go up there against the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday, you fumble a punt, you miss a field goal like that, you lose. You throw an interception in a tie game in negative territory. Granted, Tannehill will probably be at quarterback on Sunday. You lose. I mean, the Titans, but early in the football game, the Titans made a lot of mistakes. And they're going to have to be better on Sunday outside of Tannehill. I was so disappointed with how discombobulated the Titans looked early in the game. Whether it was Randy Bullock pushing 2 kicks back-to-back wide right, whether it was Robert Woods fumbling a punt, Robert Woods calling for a fair catch at the 6-yard line, all kinds of things. Even before the half, when Malik Willis took the sack that pushed them out of a potential field goal situation, they just didn't look like they were in rhythm. And that's fine against the Texans because Davis Mills sucks so bad that he wasn't able to make them pay for it at all. Well, guess what? On Sunday, they will. And so, I mean, you can get away with things against the Colts, the Commanders, the Raiders, the Texans. There's a lot you can get away with against those teams. You ain't getting away with on Sunday Night Football. And there was nobody in that crowd yesterday in Houston. There will be a packed house at Arrowhead Stadium on Sunday.
And it is going to be loud.
Have you ever been to a game at Arrowhead?
Not a Chiefs game, but I've been to a game at Arrowhead, and it is loud.
So I have been to a Chiefs game at Arrowhead, and I've been to two. I've been to in 2013, the Giants played the Chiefs. It was a random game, but I was there. And then I went to the AFC Championship game. And I am going to tell you, it's one of those places, like when I went to my first game at Rupp Arena for a Kentucky basketball game against North Carolina on a Saturday, where I looked at the crowd and I thought, how does anybody ever win a game here? I mean, it is loud.
It's loud. It's a very menacing place to play.
It's not Buffalo, but it is one step below that. It is not Buffalo or Seattle, which are, kind of the two pinnacles in the league of hard to play, but it's number 3, probably. Denver's up there somewhere too. Mm-hmm. And so those mistakes, you can't be fumbling punts. You can't be false starting when you're inside the 10-yard line. Derrick Henry had a false start yesterday. Yeah. Can't have that. Cannot have that.
The fumbled punt, though, that wasn't just the punt went right through Robert Woods' hands.
I mean, if you're saying that it's better than Kyle Phillips because it was, yes, but it would still, you can't fumble punts.
I know that. But, I mean, the ball was very clearly punched out of Robert Woods' hands. And no, that can't happen. And yes, a fumbled punt is a fumbled punt no matter how it happens. But it wasn't just like Robert Woods had butterfingers and the punt went right through his hands.
I did think that Robert Woods' punt returning the last 2 games has been pretty terrible. I mean, again, you can't call for a fair catch at the 6-yard line.
No.
You cannot do that. And he did it yesterday. There was one against the Colts where he ran back on the ball and he went to field it, but he missed it. And so it ended up bouncing into the end zone for a touchback. But I was trying to figure out why he was running back there to try to field that punt. I mean, I don't blame Robert Woods necessarily for all that because I don't think Robert Woods does this. I just think it's a necessity thing. And I know Kyle Phillips is on IR, so it's not like he can go back there. I'm not putting some rookie out there to return punts at Arrowhead on Sunday. I mean, I'm putting somebody out there that's done it. And unfortunately, that person is Woods. But all those little things that Vrabel was talking about, those things are going to be problems. Those are going to be problems on Sunday. And so I definitely am not ruling out that the Titans can win this game, but they're going to have to play a better game than they played yesterday because they were so discombobulated early and they can't miss field goals and they can't not take advantage of good field position and they're going to have to win the field position game and they're going to have to get the same push they got with their defensive line this past week and all of those things. But again, the mistakes, I mean, somebody tweeted me yesterday and was like, well, Tannehill was the glue that held this team together. I'm like, Tannehill not being there has nothing to do with Robert Woods fumbling the punt. And those things can't happen on Sunday night. Cannot happen.
But I do have faith in the fact that the Titans always play up to their opponents and will play down to their opponents as well. Even though the defensive line looked pretty damn good yesterday and the run game looked pretty damn good, overall it wasn't a clean performance from the Titans. They go to Arrowhead and they play the Chiefs. Maybe they do completely get blown out and they commit stupid mistakes.
They didn't play up to their opponents the first time they played a game like this.
No, they didn't.
And so this is a very big measuring stick game. But you go there and you do the stupid stuff, you will lose. Do the stupid, you lose. I mean, that's the wrong game. Where's the, I don't know. I was looking for my Texan game. It's over here somewhere. But again, you make some of those mistakes that they made yesterday, and you're not going to win. What do we have? 615-737-1025.
Got a lot of texters texting in about Malik Willis. Rob texts in and says, to me, Malik looked worse yesterday than he did in the preseason. Backed up to our own end zone, and I see Derek motioning his hands, asking what the heck they're about to do, and it was like Malik had no idea. I think Jared hit the nail on the head when he said the future backup. I don't see where he helps this team as a backup this year, though.
Okay, so I guess I don't know what he's referring to with the Derrick Henry throwing his hands in the air saying he doesn't know what they're doing. I did not see that. I don't know what he's talking about. I thought the operation outside of the false starts was rather clean with Malik Willis. I didn't have a problem with that. As far as, Malik Willis and is he going to be any good or anything else like that, I mean, I'm just going off of the passing performance. I'm not going through this, I didn't think it was worse than what we saw in the preseason. Did you?
No.
I thought it was the same.
I didn't think it was worse than what we saw in the preseason at all.
Ian, did you think it was worse than the preseason watching Malik?
Well, other than the fact that he wasn't really able to, run around, so he really wasn't really generating any offense on his own, really whatsoever. So
that is true.
And the fact that, the lack of running, which is probably to be expected in regular season versus preseason, was probably the biggest difference.
By the way, a couple things in my notes because I was thinking about some other mistakes the Titans made outside of the field goal and the drop punt.
Right.
Boy, Petit Ferrer, he struggled early in the game, in the running game. I thought he struggled. Byard, the second play for Houston, they run the ball for 11 yards. Byard is 3 yards in the backfield, misses a tackle. Byard dropped an interception yesterday.
Yeah. You got to catch
Byard.
that.
Like, Kevin Byard makes those plays.
I have a really difficult time getting on the offensive line too much, though, because they blocked for 300 yards rushing yesterday.
I think I could have blocked for 300
And I understand it's the Texans, but still.
I mean, look, they keep running nobody's out there, and they keep doing the same thing every year. Whether it's Quessenberry or whether it's Dennis Kelly or whether it's, Brewer or Radens or Daly, or they keep running these nobodies that barely even belong in the NFL, and they just run the ball up the middle for 300 yards, 200 yards against the Texans every single week. So, I mean, that's just what they do. By the way, how about Deontay Foreman? Back-to-back weeks. Like Derrick Henry. Or they just put the miniature version of Derrick Henry in there and they run the ball like Derrick Henry. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. Tennessee made quick work of Kentucky. And they are now officially the number 2 team in the nation. And I'm telling you something. I've never said this about Tennessee football. But we'll get to that next right here. Stillman & Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
You love the game.
Tennessee touchdown! Middle Tennessee gets the score.
We live the game.
Just work on the little things every day.
They think the coaches are just coaches.
We are.
We got pass rushes.
Checkered flag in the air.
Awesome game 7.
What a stop made by UC Sarah.
The game. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required. Refund available for 60 days after purchase.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. You'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. Results are guaranteed or your money back. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
The Nashville Jam Company is already a super popular weekend breakfast and brunch destination. But with summer over, it's time to put the beach body away for a while. So for fall, they've expanded their offerings and added what they call the Meat and 3 menu. Yeah, cool weather and Southern comfort food go hand in hand. And the stars of this show are the hefty meatloaf, Southern fried catfish, slow-cooked pot roast, fried chicken, Salisbury steak, and a slew of other rib, stick, and delicacies. And they have salads, too, if you're into that kind of thing. Come see the new menu Monday through Friday from 10:30 till 2.
Hey Nashville, TJ Anderson here. With real estate listings, you have to read between the lines. Like breathtaking means yikes. Fixer-upper, it was definitely on an episode of Hoarders. And close to everything? Well, I hope you like the sound of trains. My team at TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty is ready to help both home buyers and sellers decode the market. Oh, and if the house is charming, it's probably ugly, but has a great personality. Google TJ Anderson Homes, read our reviews, and see why we are referred for a reason. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, 615-432-2919.
Hey, it's Hutton for the Low T Center. Guys, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low T. Schedule your complete health assessment at Low T Center. They now offer the convenience of monitored self-injected home testosterone treatments for $155 a month cash pay or covered by most health insurance. If you don't live near a Low T Center or you just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy to get started. Only your first 2 visits are in person. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Black Friday deals are here earlier than ever at Electronic Express. Come into our convenient locations for great deals on all of your favorite brands like Samsung, GE, Microsoft, Cuisinart, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department: computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Save up to 40% with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball. We got pass rushes.
Awesome game set.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Congratulations to the Tennessee Volunteers, number 2 in the nation in the AP poll. In fact, tomorrow the college football rankings will come out. Many people are predicting that the Volunteers will be the number 1 team in the country, but we all know that that'll be decided on Saturday anyway, when they take on Georgia, the SEC game of the week. I can't remember the last time CBS did not have Alabama LSU.
That's a good question.
I mean, CBS
probably last year, honestly.
Hey, we're not doing Alabama LSU this year. Why? Because we get Tennessee and Georgia.
And the crazy thing is, like, this Alabama LSU game isn't like it's going to be a blowout one way or another.
Not a bad
it's not
Alabama
like a trashed
game.
LSU team against an elite Alabama team. This is number 6 versus number 15. It's just when you got 1 and 2. It's way
CBS.
more important.
So, I kept saying all week, no matter what Matt Jones said, no matter what Chad Withrow said, no matter what Trevor said, no matter what, I said, I'm not worried about Kentucky. Tennessee will take care of Kentucky. I'm not, going into the year, I thought that was going to be like a big game, Tennessee and Kentucky, and that it was going to be, and then, I'd seen enough Kentucky, I'd seen enough Tennessee. I was like, I'm not worried about it. But as kickoff approached on Saturday, I started to question myself. I'm like, could Tennessee be overlooking Kentucky? I mean, I really have said no all week. Chad came on Friday and talked about how nervous he was about this Kentucky game. And I just, for some reason, I just wasn't. And I started to think, maybe Kentucky, they say Will Levis is some great draft prospect, and maybe he'll be, he'll carry this team and Tennessee won't. And I never crossed the picket line in my own head about whether or not Tennessee would lose this game or could lose this game. But then they kicked off. And after the first Tennessee touchdown on the first drive and the first Kentucky 3-and-out on the first drive, I said, game's over. Game's over. And so for the first time in the 8 years that I've been on the radio here, I am going to tell you that I think Tennessee is the best team in the country right now. Now, and I actually screwed this up because what I was going to do is I was going to ask you guys if you thought Tennessee was the best team in the country. And then I was going to tell you guys that I have no idea if they're the best team in the country.
And we'll find out.
But I'll find out Saturday.
Yeah.
Do you think Tennessee's the best team in the country?
I do.
Ian.
I do.
Do you think Tennessee's the best team in the country?
I mean, I might lean just slightly Georgia.
So here's the way I was thinking about it. Tennessee, in my head, offense, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Quarterback, Tennessee. Coach,
Georgia.
I'd say even.
I say Georgia.
Heupel's a great coach.
I know. Kirby just won a national championship.
I'm going to say even. Overall team talent.
Georgia.
Defense.
Georgia.
Special teams. Georgia. Tennessee's kicker leaves a lot to be desired.
He does.
In my opinion. So I'm going to say Georgia. But all I keep thinking in my head is this Tennessee offense slows down for nothing. It doesn't matter if they're playing at home against Alabama and the greatest defensive coach of this generation and century, and they still score 52. It doesn't matter if they're on the road at LSU in a sold-out crowd, and they'll still score 30, whatever. It doesn't matter if they're playing a good, supposedly defensive team in Kentucky, they'll drop 44 on them. I mean, they score on everybody. So then the question has to be, okay, well, if Georgia has this great defense, then how many points can they hold Tennessee to? And I think that is the story of the game. But the one thing everybody tells me when it comes to Tennessee is that their defense is terrible. That's what everybody tells me. And I remember, when Pittsburgh kind of moved the ball, not at will, but Pittsburgh moved the ball effectively at times in that game. And had they not had a third-string quarterback in there, who knows what would have happened in that overtime game. We all saw it. We all saw Anthony Richardson, who apparently stinks every time he plays on TV except for that Utah game. We all saw Anthony Richardson throw for 300 and whatever and drop
450. He
450.
threw for 450 yards.
It was Jaden Daniels the next week who threw for 300, wasn't it?
Yeah. For the first time in 3 years.
So, I mean, I get it. But everybody keeps telling me that Tennessee's defense is no good. And I watched Tennessee's defense early against LSU stop them on all these fourth downs. And I watched them on Saturday against Kentucky. And everybody can keep telling me that Tennessee's defense is no good, but Tennessee's defense held a first-round draft choice. And yes, he will be a first-round draft choice to all the boo-hooers out there. He will be a first-round pick. Held him to 6 points on Saturday. So their defense must not be that bad.
But that identifier for Tennessee's defense was a fair critique of that team earlier this season. That defense was not very good. It just laid out the fact that Anthony Richardson threw for 450 yards and threw his first passing touchdown of the season against Tennessee. But the defense is getting better.
I remember he threw a ball into the corner, and the corner tried to tackle the guy, and the corner missed him, and the safety had time because the corner was trying to tackle him. And
in that Florida game?
Yeah, and so the safety ran over, and he tried to tackle him, and neither guy tackled him, and the guy just, they had him wrapped up, and the guy just ran into the end zone for a touchdown.
They missed so many tackles against Florida. They did it against Pitt. That was truly, the biggest weakness on that team was the secondary and the tackling and the pass defense as a whole. But it has gotten so much better. I mean, the guy who hit that Kentucky receiver and then the other one who recovered the interception, I've never even heard of those names.
Danico Slaughter?
Never heard of him in my life. And they were making plays against Kentucky. Big-time, game-changing plays. So this pass defense specifically, the run defense has been fine all season long. Not elite, not bad, but fine. But the pass defense has evolved week over week. So, the people who were criticizing Tennessee's pass defense earlier this season were fair. But that's not a fair critique anymore.
I just know that I only watched 3 quarters of the LSU game because it was over by the time they started the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And every time that LSU went for it on 4th and short, Tennessee stopped them. Every single time in that LSU game. Now, again, I don't think LSU is some great offensive team. And I certainly don't think Kentucky is some great offensive team. But everybody tells me how bad this defense is. I flip on, to this point. Now, I will say that Bryce Young, they scored 49 points or whatever on Tennessee.
Bryce Young's the best quarterback in the country.
Bryce Young's best player in America.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to hold that against him. And even then, I felt like they got tons. I was shocked at all the pressure they got on Bryce Young. And the fact that Bryce Young just kept running around making plays like Patrick Mahomes out there, in the pocket running around and waiting for guys to get open and throwing it. And I've got to tell you, I just don't think Tennessee's defense is that bad anymore. I mean, so if their defense isn't that bad, they've got elite offense, elite quarterback, I think an elite coach, and they've got a good defense. I'm going to say it, good.
Yeah.
That defense on Saturday was good. Tennessee is every bit the number 2 team in the country. I mean, if I had a vote in the AP poll, I would vote Tennessee number 1. I'm not saying that with any, definity though, right? Like, I'm not telling you that Tennessee is number 1 and I just want to see the game Saturday. I want to see where they match up. But I think Tennessee's defense is good enough to keep Georgia's offense that, I don't know.
Better than it was in 2021, but it's
I don't
still
know
not
what to
elite
make
offense.
of Georgia because Georgia just turned it on and off the other day against Florida.
Mm-hmm.
They got out to that 28-0 lead or whatever. Then it was 28-20, and the next thing I know, it's 42-20. And I was like, good God. So obviously Georgia is stopping and starting. And I saw what Georgia did to Oregon week 1. I know Oregon, whatever, they're not an SEC team, but still, I just want to see the game. But right now,
turn the ball over, and Florida capitalized.
All anybody tells me is that Tennessee, all the things about Tennessee that should be figured out if it's true. Like if you've got a bad defense, a first-round pick quarterback, he might not win the game, but he's going to score more than 6 points. He's going to score more than 6. If he,
Who's he?
Will Levis.
Oh, yeah.
If he's a first-round pick quarterback, and don't think that this bad game is going to keep him from going in the first round. He's going in the first round. To all the boo-hooers out there. They're like, oh, yeah, you think Will Levis first rounder now? Guys, he's definitely going in the first round. They would score more than 6 points if this defense was that bad. They really would. They would score more than 6. And then I think about the Tennessee offense, and it's like, okay, after the 5 touchdowns against Alabama, where Tennessee clearly duped Alabama into not knowing what was going on and just throwing the ball over everybody's head, and there's a wide receiver there with nobody around him, like surely those teams would get the tape and analyze that and would stop that, right?
Yes.
But then they didn't because maybe they can't. And that's just, they've got the elite coach, the elite quarterback. They've got the defense is better. Now they're going to be playing on the road, and I do think that that's going to be an issue. But right now where I sit, if I had a vote, I would vote Tennessee number 1 in the country. I really would. And I've never said that, ever. Probably in my life, but I've never, ever, ever said it being on the radio here. Not that there was ever any team that was deserving of this kind of discussion. And we're not talking about Ohio State and Michigan, who I don't watch enough of, but maybe I should. But, I mean, I think everything that I could ask a football team to do, Tennessee does. And they proved it on Saturday against Kentucky. And when I watched that game, I felt like that Tennessee-Kentucky game was like an NFL playoff game because this Georgia game is a legitimate playoff game. This is a de facto play into the playoff. And it felt like an NFL playoff game in like the wild card round or the divisional round where the number 1 seed is playing, a team that's good enough to make the playoffs but not compete for the Super Bowl, like the Titans when Mariota and crew went to Kansas City and beat the Chiefs, and they turned around and went to New England with Brady and they got smoked. And it was like that Titan team in 2017 never belonged on the same field with the New England Patriots. And it was kind of like that. It felt like one of those playoff games where, it's a big playoff game and we're all here and yeah, they're a big underdog, but yeah, here we go. And boom, first series, game's over. And it was over from the first series. The Tennessee touchdown, the Kentucky 3 and out. I'm like, you lose. On you go to Georgia. 615-737-1025. So I think they're the best team in the country. Caroline thinks they're the best team in the country. Ian, not so sure. Would you say they're the second best team in the country, Ian?
I'd say that's probably fair.
Okay. With that, Tennessee fans get mad every time I say this. And I don't know why. You should be happy about this. But the genius of the head coach was on display on Saturday night. And I just don't know if there's any way to stop it. We'll get to that coming up next. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. Football season is well underway, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, and my official sportsbook app. Right now, new customers get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet does not win. All you have to do is sign up with the promo code JGM. And right now, Tennessee, they are big underdogs. You hear me right there say, I think they're the best team in the country, so be thinking about that with your first bet. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props, and you can combine your bets with a chance for a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. Get paid your winnings quickly with FanDuel, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So sign up with the promo code JGM for your no-sweat bet. That's promo code JGM. And make every moment more this season with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issue is non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is a relationship, just like your relationship. Dating and getting married is awesome and fun, but having been married for 24 years, I can tell you it only gets better.
Meet Ward Herbert, manager at Genesis Diamonds, talking about the importance of having a long-term marriage with your spouse and your jeweler.
What's in the DNA here is relationship building. How can we be a part of your love story forever? It's your engagement ring, it's your wedding band, it's your anniversaries, it's gifts for your children, it's being a Genesis customer for life.
Genesis Diamonds, where it's never about making a sale, it's about making a hero.
The greatest joy I get is helping you find your perfect ring, helping you find your perfect diamond, and having you walk out with a huge smile on your face because you know she's going to love it and it's going to be something that you can be proud of forever.
And Ward knows a thing or two about relationships as a marriage counselor and an ordained minister. He can provide a little extra added value.
I did a wedding ceremony for one of our customers 2 months ago. He did not have a minister at the last minute, and I performed his wedding ceremony for him.
Genesis Diamonds, going above and beyond for every customer.
Now you may kiss the bride.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
When you download the Home Depot app, taking on big or small projects starts with a tap. It's your pocket-sized toolbox for getting more done. Image search helps you find what you need with a snap. Store mode pinpoints exactly where to go to get what you want while you're at our store. Or just tap to arrange for easy curbside pickup, all from the palm of your hand. It's the app that's made for doing. The Home Depot app. How doers get more done.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Hooker well protected. Wide open is Hyatt running free. A total bust and a quick strike for the Volunteers. 13th touchdown reception of the season for Hyatt. This from 55 yards. Man, do they stress the defense.
Yeah, you practice all week. You know you're going to be stretched sideline to sideline, which creates those vertical seams. You come up with a plan, and then you get hit in the mouth, and you got to make adjustments. They do it every single week to everybody they play.
Hooker looking instead to his left. Now moves back to the right. Launches. Wide open touchdown. Jalen Hyatt for the second time tonight. And the 14th time this season.
We just talked about they're going to create a matchup, right? We saw them do this so often. Josh Heupel talking there with Hendon Hooker. They are step for step in their communication, and Hooker is so dialed into this offense.
Josh Heupel is dialing it up. And let me say this. So Tennessee fans get mad. That's 2 more touchdowns for Jalen Hyatt. That's a school record through what, 8 games?
8 games, yeah.
A school record through 8 games. And every time Jalen Hyatt has these plays where he is so wide open, there is not another member of the other team in the TV picture. Every time that happens, I think, Heupel. Every time it happens. And that I mean, I'm not knocking Jalen Hyatt with this, but I said this after the Alabama game when I was like, that's Josh Heupel scheming him open. That there is no way. Jalen Hyatt is a fine player, but every single one of these SEC schools has receivers that can run. If Jalen Hyatt hurt an ankle and had to miss a game, then they just put somebody else in that position.
Well, that's exactly what Jalen Hyatt did. Cedric Tillman literally hurt an ankle, so he goes out, Jalen Hyatt comes in.
Wasn't Jalen Hyatt always starting, though?
He was always starting, but it was always Hendon Hooker to Cedric Tillman, Hendon Hooker to Cedric Tillman. He was not this 5 touchdowns a game kind of receiver when Cedric Tillman was out there.
And now there's just running down the field. He's wide open. And again, it'd be one thing if Jalen Hyatt came out of nowhere, had those 5 touchdowns against Alabama, and we never heard from him again. Like when Jonas Gray ran for 4 touchdowns on Sunday Night Football for the Patriots, and then I don't think ever played another NFL snap. Like, that's one thing. But Kentucky obviously watched the Alabama tape, and the third play of the game, Jalen Hyatt's wide open running down there, and all Josh Heupel would do is he'd just put in another receiver that can run, and he'd put that guy in there, and he'd just run right down the field for a touchdown. And every time I say that, these Tennessee fans get so mad at me. They're like, no, Jared, you have to give Jalen Hyatt his due with that 4.3 speed. You have to. I'm like, I'm not saying Jalen Hyatt can't run.
He's a good player.
They all can run. Every SEC team, Arkansas has wide receivers who can run. Every single SEC team, except for Vanderbilt, has wide receivers that can run down the field. But to sit there and tell me that these Tennessee receivers are as good as Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson is ridiculous.
Miss me.
Because it's not
with that
true.
Argument.
And so I watch these guys, and all I keep thinking about, and see, if you're a Tennessee fan, you should be happy about this.
Because that means it's about the system and not the players. That when
those
players leave, you're still going to be good because it was never about the players.
I believe that I am watching the 1996 Florida Gators. I really do. And for those of you that don't know, the 1996 Florida Gators under Steve Spurrier, they ran the offense called the Fun and Gun. And for years, Tennessee fans will never admit this because they were such rivals with Florida, but for years, you all wished you had Steve Spurrier as your coach. You wish you had Fulmer's players, Peyton Manning, Peerless Price, Jamal Lewis. You wish you had Fulmer's players and Steve Spurrier as your coach. And that 1996 Florida Gator team that I believe went into Neyland Stadium and won.
Yes.
That 1996 Florida Gators team had Danny Warfel at quarterback. Danny Warfel won the Heisman Trophy that year, and he ended up being a 4th-round pick in the NFL. Now, every time we talk about Hendon Hooker and some guy like Todd McShay says he's a 2nd-round pick, we get the, how can he be a 2nd-round pick? And it's like, guys, the system is really, really, really good. Now, I think Hooker's pretty good too, and I think Hooker's knowledge of the system is a big component in why this offense works as well as it does, as the trigger man. But again, so was Danny Warfel's. So Danny Warfel, average NFL not even an average NFL quarterback, started 10 games over like 5 years. A nobody. Danny Warfel wins a national championship, lighting up the scoreboard, going to Neyland Stadium and beating Peyton Manning, smoking Florida State in the national championship game, and they did it with 3 main receivers. Ike Hilliard, who was a top 10 pick. Now, Ike Hilliard had an okay NFL career with the Giants, but he was never a number 1 receiver. He was always the number 2. Amani Toomer was the number 1. Rydell Anthony, who went in the top 15 of the 97 draft, and never had more than 700 yards in a season. A below average NFL receiver. And Jaquez Green, who was never even really an NFL receiver. Those 3 guys. Derek was also in the 97 draft. Derek Mason had more receiving yards in his NFL career than those 3 guys combined. But those guys, with Danny Warfel at quarterback, won a national championship in the Fun and Gun Steve Spurrier offense. And Spurrier had some good players for sure, like Fred Taylor, but for the most part, it was the Fun and Gun. And what I say about this is it was always Spurrier. And Spurrier came into the league, and he had this offense, and nobody knew what to do about it. And it's why Steve Spurrier, even when he was at South Carolina, was able to win games like beat Nick Saban with Steven Garcia at quarterback, because he was that kind of coach. And that's what Heupel is. Now, next year, last week, we had Matt Jones, Kentucky Sports Radio on, and I talked about Heupel being the next Steve Spurrier, Chip Kelly, and I got yelled at. What are you talking about? There's been 1 game against Alabama. If the Alabama kicker made the kick, then would we be talking about this? And I'm like, look, man.
First of all, yes.
52 points against Alabama, 44 points against Tennessee. Or Kentucky. They're going to score a bunch of points on Georgia. It's Heupel. Now, in the future, they'll still have a good offense. I'm not sure that he'll ever have a quarterback that knows this offense like the way that I feel like Hendon Hooker knows this offense.
Why not?
Because the level of mastery that we're seeing from Hooker reading the defense is pretty high level. Now, he still may score 35 points with another guy, but, I mean, Hendon Hooker, even the conversations they had on the sidelines on TV are like, wow, that's some next-level stuff. That is Josh Heupel playing quarterback right now, and that's really, really hard to replicate. It's really hard to go out there and have that kind of quarterback and then all of a sudden just keep bringing in new guys to do the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. But for right now, that's what they have. But to me, it's the coach and the quarterback. And everybody's like, oh, Jared, you're taking away from Jalen Hyatt and you're taking away from what he's – I'm like, look, man, if Jalen Hyatt got hurt, knock on wood because I don't want anything bad to happen to that kid. But if Jalen Hyatt got hurt and didn't play on Saturday, it wouldn't move the needle for me. Tennessee would just put Brew McCoy in that spot, and he'd just run down the field, and for somehow he'd be wide open with all this green grass, and I could catch those passes. Just like Rydell Anthony was not the only receiver that Steve Spurrier ever had at Florida. They just kept popping them out with random-ass quarterbacks like Danny Werfel, Shane Matthews, Doug Johnson, Jesse Palmer, just these random guys. And Spurrier just kept lighting up the scoreboard. And so, I mean, that's what I feel like I'm looking at right now. And if you're a Tennessee fan, that's great. Because take yourself back to 1998. Well, maybe not 98 because you won the national championship that year. Take yourself back to 1996. And you hear me say, Steve Spurrier is now coaching the Vols. You would lose your panties over that, Tennessee fans. Steve Spurrier is now coaching the Vols.
Tennessee fans would never admit that.
He's Steve Spurrier. This is the Chip Kelly. What he was to Oregon football is what Josh Heupel's doing right now. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll get to your phones. And I got one other thought. Boy, Tennessee fans, I don't know why they took this whole Will Levis thing personal, but boy, did they. Got a thought on that. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, I'm Matthias Ekholm, and this is Smashville.
Ekholm, his shot, he scores! Matthias Ekholm gets the Predators' third of the night.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Calling all sweet toots. Head to Nashville Toffee Company, a place where rich chocolatey daydreams are created from a secret family recipe generations in the making. Their toffees and candies are handcrafted in Nashville using all natural kosher certified ingredients. Sweet creamery, butter, pure cane sugar, premium roasted nuts, deep rich chocolate, and sea salt. Visit NashvilleToffeeCompany.com or drop by their headquarters on Air Lane Drive for a positively hassle-free shopping experience. Whether you are buying for 1 or 100, Nashville Toffee Company is here to make your holiday gift giving easy.
Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Hall of Famer and all-time leading rusher with exciting news.
Football legend Emmitt Smith talking about all new regenerative treatments for joint pain from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics.
But did you know that you can encourage your body to actually heal itself with the help of QC Kinetics?
QC Kinetics uses biologic therapies that are natural, restorative, and long-lasting.
The body is an amazing thing. Trust me, I put mine through a lot.
Exciting new relief is here for pain from arthritis, knee pain, lower back pain, pain in your hips and shoulders.
I'm that guy. When you Google shoulder pain, my face pops up.
But you don't have to be sidelined by pain anymore. Call QC Kinetics to learn more about biologic therapies.
Don't let your joint pain keep you from doing the things you love. There's a new natural solution that patients are raving about.
QC Kinetics.
Let QC Kinetics help you improve your quality of life.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Welcome to Smashville, home of your Nashville Predators. Catch the Preds in action at Bridgestone Arena 8 times during the month of November. That's 8 chances to wear your gold, 8 chances to get loud, and 8 chances to invite your friends to experience Smashville. You won't want to miss a minute of the action. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets and get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. Let's go, Preds!
Hey everybody, Big Joe here for Apple Collision Centers. And you know I'm always on the go, but the distraction that an automobile accident causes could even slow my pace down to a stop. But my friend and CEO of Apple Collision Centers, Stan Harrison, has a plan to get you and I back on the road and fast.
We at Apple Collision Centers know you deserve the best quality service. We always recommend original equipment parts, and we use only the best Sherwin-Williams finishes. 3 convenient locations, Hendersonville, Gallatin, and Old Hickory. And you can always visit us online for your estimate needs at applecollisioncenters.com.
Jonathan Hutton.
You have to put the ball in his hands in that moment.
And Chad Withrow.
My kicker's making no decisions on a football team.
Are in the game. Join them for NFL postgame after every Titans home game. Live from Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville on Broadway. They'll break down that day's game and look ahead to the next one. NFL postgame is presented by Two Rivers Ford, Renter's Warehouse, and Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Gary Bettman. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Levis on 2nd and 10. Takes a shot downfield, jump ball, and it's picked off again. Danico Slaughter, whose carom set up the first pick tonight, now has one of his own, and that's the hat trick for Levis. This is a tough night for Kentucky's elite quarterback.
But you're left on an island. You're playing man-free. You've got to win. They're going up against freshmen. They're confident that they can stay with them. And Slaughter, who's made every play he's been asked, that ball just feels like it's a little late. It looked like Key had a couple steps on him. But in man-free, Slaughter be able to read the eyes of Key, gets his own body turned, locates the ball, and then again, the athletic ability to make the play.
So the corners have been a problem all year. You know, Warren Burrell, season-ending injury against Pitt. You got Christian Charles out tonight. Kamal Haddon out tonight. First start at corner for a guy who's really a safety. And Slaughter has set up one pick and made another and played in good coverage. That's about as good as you can do in your corner debut, man.
And again, I think this secondary has a bit of a chip on their shoulder. You know, they hear a lot about how they're 130th in the country in pass defense. Only 131 teams.
They made Will Levis look not so hot on Saturday. But let me say this. The boo-hooing from Tennessee fans. You know, last week I was talking about my dad, and my dad enjoying the fact that Tennessee's good, even though he hates Tennessee, because it allows him to hate them more.
That's fair.
And you guys brought up the good point Ian did about my dad not being on social media. So he doesn't see a lot of that stuff. During the game on Saturday, the boo-freaking-hooing of the Tennessee fans about Will Levis as a draft prospect. Oh, you think he's still going in the first round now, Todd McShay? I mean, was so obnoxious. Yes, he's going in the first round. By the way, in 1998, I heard it was a pretty good year for Tennessee football. In 1998, they beat Kentucky something like 52-21. And the Kentucky quarterback, Tim Couch, went number 1 overall the next year. I don't remember back there. Oh, you think Tim Couch is better than T. Martin? Ah! And by the way, Tim Couch should have a better career than T. Martin, though. Tim Couch did not have a great career. He did have a better career and was a better pro player than T. Martin. I think we can all agree. So the amount of boo-hooing about the Will Levis draft stock Saturday night, maybe, think about this for a second, Tennessee fan boo-hooing about Will Levis's draft stock. And by the way, Will Levis is absolutely going to be a number 1 draft choice in the NFL. Not might be.
First round, not number 1.
Well, a number 1 draft choice is a number 1 pick.
First round, yes, a first round.
He's not going to be the first overall pick,
no.
But he is going to be a number 1 draft choice. And the thing about Will Levis that all you boo-hooers don't seem to understand, maybe your defense might be good. Like, would that be a bad thing? Is that bad?
I think they would enjoy that very much.
Okay, so shut up.
Well, I mean, are you surprised, Jared?
No.
Tennessee fans boo-hooing and being dramatic on social media?
But just because I'm not surprised by it doesn't mean that it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Will Levis is going to be a number 1 draft choice in the NFL. The question is, will he be the second quarterback or the third quarterback off the board? And I think he will very clearly be the third quarterback off the board.
Yes.
What do we have in the text line on Tennessee? 615-737-1025. I could not get over the boo-hooing about Levis. I mean, I think someone was like, Will Levis hasn't proven to me to be a number one pick. I'm like, well, how about when Patrick Mahomes went 5-7 at Texas Tech and lost to Iowa State 38-16? Did you think he was the next great generational talent in the NFL?
Well, there's been one thing that I've noticed about Tennessee fans, and that is good things happening to them can't be enough. It has to be good things for them and bad things for everybody else.
Is that not wild?
Am I wrong, though?
Oh, it's so true. It's like, yeah. Will Levis has to suck because we are so good.
And there are probably so many Tennessee fans that are saying, Caroline, you're wrong. We don't want bad things for other people, but embrace it. The baseball team wears shirts that says villains. You love to play that role. So play into it, but don't get mad when people call you out on it.
Heupel's not going to embrace that kind of role.
Well, I'm not saying Heupel. I'm talking about the Vol Twitter crew.
Yeah, Heupel has done a great job.
Talks out of both sides of their mouth.
Heupel has done a great job to disassociate himself from that, which I think is pretty hard to do at Tennessee, to disassociate himself from the bullcrap. Heupel's done a fantastic
I have to
job.
take my hat off to Josh Heupel.
Oh, he's a great
managing that team going
coach.
into that Alabama game with all the love that Tennessee was getting, all the love Tennessee's getting even now, and being able to kind of keep that team on track and focused. It's impressive.
You have one of two choices, in my opinion, when you're a coach in a situation like that. You can either completely embrace it, like Al Davis with the Raiders, or you can kind of be like, yeah, it's great for the fans, but we're just focused on what we have to do and just be very laser focused. And Heupel has gone the laser focused route, and it's working. What do we have in our text line? 615-737-1025. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com.
One texter texts in and says, it's an interesting take by Jared calling Tennessee the number one team in the country when just the other day after the Alabama game, he was saying that Tennessee would only beat Alabama 2 or 3 times out of 10.
Okay, I think I stand by that. I mean, I'm kind of torn. Did I say that, though? I'm not sure I did say that. Maybe I said it before the game, but I don't think I said it after the game.
No, you did.
No, because I picked Mississippi State to cover that 21-point spread because I was disappointed in Alabama. There's no way that I said that they'd only beat them 2 or 3 times. Now, I wouldn't want to match up with Alabama again in the SEC Championship.
And that's another thing is even if they do meet up in the SEC Championship and Alabama does win that game, that doesn't mean that I think that Alabama is a better team than Tennessee. I think that's just the Nick Saban effect.
I'm really disappointed with Alabama this year.
Why?
Because they play undisciplined, and they're not good defensively. And so, I mean, Alabama, when you've got a great quarterback, you don't have to be a good coach. When you've got a great college quarterback, you don't have to be a good coach. But if that quarterback's really good and runs that system really, really well, then it can kind of protect a lot of your shortcomings as a coach. That's how Mark Helfrich got to the national championship game against, with Marcus Mariota as his quarterback and beat Jameis Winston in Florida State to get there because Mark Helfrich had a great quarterback, and then that great quarterback went to the NFL, and Oregon was lousy, and 2 years later, Helfrich was fired. If you've got a great quarterback, you can do that. Well, that's how Alabama's getting by right now. That's not what Alabama does.
No.
Alabama does not get by on a great quarterback. That's what Clemson does. And that's why Clemson is great when they have a great quarterback. But when they don't, Clemson's not great. And that's not the Alabama model. The Alabama model is that nobody carries the team and that everybody is so good at everything they do, coaches, players, everything, that it's all keys in the cog. It's all John Parker Wilson, do your job. Greg McElroy, do your job. And instead, this Alabama team is carried by its quarterback, and that is really, truly disappointing to me for what I have of my expectations of Alabama football.
But even still, they have a path to the playoff.
Yeah.
Even with being carried by their quarterback. They win out, they go to the SEC Championship, and they win the SEC Championship they're in.
I still don't think they'll do that, though.
I don't think so either.
I just don't think they have good enough players. I don't think they have good enough players. When I go back to the Tennessee game, when Jalen Hyatt's running free for all these touchdowns, where was Minkah Fitzpatrick? Where was Eddie Jackson? Where was Landon Collins? Where was Mark Barron? Where was HaHa Clinton Dix? Where were all these great safeties that Alabama has had over the years? They don't have those players. The best player on Alabama's team outside of their quarterback, in my opinion, because I know they tell me the pass rusher is going to go number 1. I don't see it. The best player on Alabama's team, in my opinion, is a transferred running back from Georgia Tech.
He's pretty damn good.
Really, though? Like, come on. Georgia Tech. Vince, is up next here on Stillman and Company. Thank you for calling. What you got, Vince?
Hey, Jared. Nice to hear from you again. Yep. Brother, I was disagreeing with everything you were saying to the last comment you made about Jahmyr Gibbs. That man is electric, amazing. He is the next Alvin Kamara. But I think you missed the point on the issue us UT fans have with the Will Levis noise. The distinction between Levis and your guy Couch was that Couch had multiple years of doing great things with subpar talent. He had no defense. You can't even name anyone off of those Kentucky teams that did anything in the NFL with Tim Couch. Whereas Levis has a lot of talent. He has some nice 4-star players. Your guy Wendell, who just went to the league. So it's not just that we feel like that he's getting too much. And although our secondary is terrible, but it's misunderstood that Levis is not going to be a first-round pick. I guarantee you that. I will come back on and call after the draft and say, I told you so. Levis is not a first-round pick. At best, he's an early second round, and he's a project still to make it. It still means he can have a great career, but I don't think he's a first-round pick.
So I don't see how Will Levis is not a first-round pick.
Well, let me ask you this then, Jared. Do first-round picks, they're normally able to make up for deficiencies their team has. Levis has not done it at all this year. Even with a terrible offensive line, he still has one of the best backs, and since he's been back,
so I will go back. I will go back to this, and I will ask you: how could Patrick Mahomes then not have made up for the deficiencies with Texas Tech when I think they were 132nd in the country in defense? How could he not make up for that since he was a first-round pick?
I'm going to tell you exactly how. 2 different conferences. They're going to judge them on 2 different levels. One, you're coming from the SEC where it's defense and offense. Big 12, it's completely offense. They're trying to see if you can move the rock in the Big 12. SEC, you have to be a complete game manager. You have to be a coach on the field as well as a great player.
So if Patrick Mahomes had played in the SEC and still went 5-7 his last year, you would have said that would not have been good enough for a first-round pick?
I don't think he would have went first round. No, sir. I do not believe he would have went first round.
I disagree. Obviously, I mean, I think that, and I appreciate a call, Vince. I think that probably the current consensus would agree with me, but that's only because our recency bias of Patrick Mahomes being one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the NFL makes it really easy to do that. My guess is Mahomes is going first round the whole time, no matter what. And yeah, they were 5-7 his last year at Texas Tech. So the idea of, Levis has to elevate his team and Levis has to, I'll tell you what I really think this is all about. I think they're mad that people rank Levis ahead of Hendon Hooker.
Probably so.
That with Levis, every single draft guru is first round pick. With Hooker, it's like, I could see him in the first round. I still got him in the second round, but I could see him in the first round. And I think they look at it like, you think that guy's better than our guy? And to every Tennessee fan, I will say this. Was Danny Warfel better than Peyton Manning?
No.
Well, guess what? 615-737-1025. What do we have in our text line?
One texter texts in and says, well, if Will Levis was as good as everyone says, then he would have put up more than 6 points.
Oh, I know. And if Peyton Manning was as good as everybody said he was, then he would have beaten Danny Warfel at home. He would have beaten Danny Warfel at home. I guess that Peyton Manning freaking stunk. Get him out. Get somebody else in there. Let me tell you who I think one of the best college quarterbacks of my lifetime was, who I thought was going to be, hands down, walk into the NFL, elite quarterback, and I almost couldn't believe the Titans didn't draft him. Matt Leinart at USC. Ian, you remember Matt Leinart at USC?
I mean, they were pretty good.
I mean, he was Heisman Trophy winner, multiple national championships. He had
most electric offense in the country.
Zip, zip, zip every time they couldn't be stopped until that Texas championship game. I mean, I thought he was going to sucked in the NFL.
Same thing with Brady Quinn.
So everybody, I kind of wasn't a huge Brady Quinn guy. But, I mean, I just thought Leinart was the bee's knees. And so, again, this whole like, oh, yeah, our guy in Levis, if he was better, he would have. And Tim Couch would have done better, too. Peyton Manning would have done better. I know. 615-737-1025. The one thing I think maybe gets overshadowed by Derrick Henry's greatness, but absolutely, positively should not get overlooked, in yesterday's Titans victory, because it is Titans Monday. We'll get to that coming up next. Edley's Barbecue. I love Edley's Barbecue. That's right. I had Edley's Barbecue this weekend. I had the wings. They were fantastic. Then again, everything from Edley's is fantastic. Even the salads have just the most giant, juicy, the croutons. It's a fantastic. I love Edley's. Hey, if you are going to have people over for the big games this weekend, and there's 2 of them, hand off the tailgating prep to Edley's. Get your smoked wings in easy 25 and 50 count platters. Easily take the smoked pulled pork, brisket, turkey, scratch-made family sides, family style, and let it rock. Edley's is perfect for game day, at home if you're having people over or if you're going to the stadium. Call your neighborhood Edley's or order online at edleysbbq.com. Edley's Barbecue, Nashville's best barbecue 4 years in a row. That's edleysbbq.com.
Silly Underdog Picks is back. Get your friends and sign up today at theGameNashville.com. Pick the 3 football underdog teams each week you think will win for a chance to win weekly prizes, like a pair of tickets to a sporting event or to a concert in Nashville. Oh, yeah! Go to theGameNashville.com or the Game Nashville app and sign up and play now. Then tune in every Thursday at noon for our expert picks. Silly Underdogs is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Superbook Sports.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Slowly clearing out as we head through the overnight hours. Temperatures will drop back into the low 50s. Looking at sunshine for the day on Tuesday. Temperatures climbing back to the low 70s. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
In a world where human interaction seems to be reduced to chats and clicks and emails, where transactions are measured only by speed, where corporate policies overrule common sense, sometimes you just want to go old school. Welcome to Genesis Diamonds, a refreshing experience where personal relationships and authentic interaction are the norm, not the exception. At Genesis, you're here celebrating something awesome in your life, and we want to know all about it. We want to hear your story, listen to your requests, and be a meaningful part of whatever occasion this is. A proposal, an anniversary, a birthday, graduation, push gift, sweet 16. If it's important to you, it's important to us. So we don't care how long it takes. We're not paid on commission, and we're not beholden to some corporate rule book. We just want to help you get what you want to make it into a special memory. So take a break from modern shopping and go old school with us at Genesis. Let's start a real relationship that you can count on for life. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
There's never a good time for your furnace to go out, especially in the winter, but it's always a good time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Robbie Stanley.
It really doesn't matter until the pads come on and you have to hit each other, you have to block.
Joe Rexrode.
Reliable, go out and make some plays for you. Solid player.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Well, one of the keys here to me is I look at this offensive line for the Texans is how they handle the inside. You know, they've gotten great tackle play from Tunsil and Titus Howard. They got a first-round rookie at left guard, Kenyon Green, and then they have Justin McCray, who's filling in for A.J. Cannon. They've got two pretty good players over there in Jeffrey Simmons and Tier Tart, who has really rushed the passer as well. So to me, how they handle the inside of that Tennessee defense is going to be key.
They're going to give it to Pierce. And Pierce getting nowhere. Jeffrey Simmons.
Well, you got to see what Jeffrey Simmons does right here. He just backs Kenyon Green, the first-round pick. He drives them about 5 yards back. He's on the other side of the offensive line. Look at that power. And for Jeffrey Simmons, a guy that, you know, didn't really practice this week, a big question mark on whether or not he'd be ready to go. He's played all 14 snaps so far in this game, and that was a great example of how much he can affect a game inside against centers and guards.
I literally wrote in my notes after that play, wow. Jeffrey Simmons being held by the guard pushes the guard into the running back for a loss of 3. I have never seen that.
That was a grown man play.
So while everybody, rightfully so, is talking about Derrick Henry and the celebration of Derrick Henry, all-time record for Titans Oilers rushing touchdowns and tying an NFL record for 200-yard games with O.J. Simpson and Adrian Peterson, and Derrick Henry, I believe, is a Hall of Fame player. What he is doing right now is Hall of Fame caliber. Jeffrey Simmons is playing like a top 15 player in the NFL. And I only don't say top 10 because then I'd have to rank the top 10 players in the NFL right now. And it's really easy to get to 15, right? Like Josh Allen,
quarterbacks,
right?
and
Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Derrick Henry,
Von Miller.
Is Von Miller a top 15 player still? I mean, the question for me on the defensive line is, where is Simmons in relation to Aaron Donald? Is he right behind him, or is he a little bit behind him? Now, I haven't watched a lot of Aaron Donald this year, but Jeffrey Simmons is so much better than he was last year, and he was really freaking good last year. Jeffrey Simmons, and I almost feel a little uncomfortable saying this right now, but it feels like every week Jeffrey Simmons is playing great football. I think he should be a first-team AP All-Pro, that he is one of the best 22 players in the NFL right now. I mean, he is fabulous. I mean, he is fantastic. And what he's doing, and the other thing about Simmons is that he makes everybody better on the defensive line. So Simmons is the number 1 guy on the defensive line. Autry is the number 2 guy. Now, there have been times where Indy had good teams where Autry was the number 1 guy, but Autry's the number 2 guy. Dupree is the number 3 guy. Kevin Strong and Tierra Tart are kind of that 4 and 5. Then they've got DeMarcus Walker. Everybody, like, the number 4 spot is the best spot for Tierra Tart. If you ask Tierra Tart to be the second best guy on a defensive line, he probably wouldn't be great. But you ask him to be the 4th best guy on the defensive line, and he's awesome. It reminds me of the Steelers at receiver when they had Antonio Brown. Because Antonio Brown was a true, legitimate, number 1 bona fide superstar. So Juju Smith-Schuster was a great number 2. When Antonio Brown left and everybody just thought Juju Smith-Schuster would lead this receiving core as their number 1 guy, they really fell off because everybody was in the wrong seat. But with Simmons as the number 1 guy, this defensive line is relentless. I mean, it's a great defensive line. And Simmons is just playing great. So I don't want that to get lost. Brad is up next on the Titans. Thank you for calling. What you got for me, Bradley?
Hey, guys. I just wanted to call in and say, after watching that game, it kind of makes me almost physically ill to think that this defense, this championship defense that we have for a second year in a row might be wasted away because of the ineptitude on offense. And I really hope I'm wrong. And I don't know that there is a move or two that could be made. But if there is, I hope J-Rob pulls the trigger, because watching that defense, it was absolutely just putting a clinic. And I know it was the Houston Texans.
Yeah, let's wait till Sunday before we, crown it a champion. Let's see how they do at Kansas City.
I hear you, but this is again, it could be 2 years in a row where you look at a defense that absolutely has everything you need to go win a Super Bowl, and we're just shooting blanks on offense. So that's it. I hope if there's something to be done, I hope J-Rob does it.
Thank you for your call, Brad. By the way, I just wanted to be noted that the Titans had the 28th ranked defense 2 weeks ago. Bud Dupree has come in, and I believe they have like the 14th ranked defense now. That within 2 weeks of Bud Dupree's return, they have gone from 28th to 14th. Like, now, some of that is because they're playing the Colts and the Texans.
I was about to say, how much of that is playing crummy, crappy teams?
But Bud Dupree's pretty good.
But 14th ranked defense is a 14th ranked
So,
defense.
I mean, again, this comes back to 2 weeks ago. Nobody was calling in saying, I feel like we're wasting championship defense. And here is this guy. What do you think John Robinson thought of A.J. Brown's performance yesterday?
I think that he was absolutely sick.
I don't know what the total line was, but I know that he had 3 touchdowns on 5 catches, and that he almost had a 4th touchdown on one of those ones where he was running down the field and somebody caught him from behind. And I mean, that's what kills me, because I did vote for that. I voted for the AJ trade, but my God, if this team had AJ Brown, I would, I do think, what's the opening line? 10.5? It's for the Titans at Kansas City?
11.
10.5.
11, I've heard too.
It's 11? Okay. The Titans, in everybody's viewpoint, are very clearly behind Buffalo and Kansas City in the AFC. Then again, they were behind Buffalo and Kansas City in everybody's opinion in the AFC last year. So it's
Even
not
though
like
they beat Buffalo and Kansas City last year.
Correct. But if they had A.J. Brown, I would argue that they are every bit ready to take on Buffalo and Kansas City. And they don't have A.J. Brown, so.
But we did have a texter text in earlier, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me. I don't know exactly what they said. But basically along the lines of, how is A.J. Brown staying so healthy in Philadelphia? And he was never able to do that here.
Yeah. Vrabel says don't blame the trainers, but for some reason everybody comes here and gets hurt. So make of that what you will. So we already had our first clue, or I don't know what the right way to say this is, in order to win these Tennessee tickets that we're going to give away next hour.
Trivia question?
It's not really a trivia question, because it's not like it's a sports trivia. I'm just telling you answers ahead of time to things, and then you just have to remember them and then call in the 5 o'clock hour. Not now, in order to win. But here's the second one. So you're going to have to know the first thing that we said earlier in the show, and you're going to have to know this. Tennessee is ranked number 2 in the AP Top 25 poll. The last time Tennessee was ranked number 2 in the AP Top 25 poll was December of 2001. It was before the SEC championship game. They played LSU and Nick Saban. If they won, they were off to play Miami in the national title game, and they lost. So December of 2001, the last time Tennessee was ranked number 2. You will need to remember that. You will need to tell Ian that in order to win these Tennessee-Colorado basketball tickets at Bridgestone Arena on Sunday, November 13th. And we will tell you when to call Ian next hour with the first piece of news and the second item that we gave away. Good luck. Stillman and Company. One thing about yesterday that should not get lost as we move forward with the Titans. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company on Titans Monday, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You love the game.
The door's on the board. Strike 3, sounds win.
We live the game.
Going up against that defense, he can make some plays and take that next step.
We are.
We got pass rushers.
Checkered flag in the air.
Awesome game 7.
What a stop made by Houston Sarah.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. We have a team committed to helping you navigate the court system, whether you've been accused of a crime or you're going through a messy divorce and custody. Call our team to help you navigate this system. We are here to protect your rights, to demand your rights, to enforce your rights. 615-604-6263. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Can you beat Vegas this football season? Hey, it's Chase McCabe for Superbook Sports. Superbook gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting lines for American sports, just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at the Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, Superbook features some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. So download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com and start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Need cash for the holidays or to pay off credit cards right now? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. This is great. You can keep your low mortgage rate and still get cash out. That's right. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low rate. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will come your way, and it only costs you around $300 a month. Use that money to pay off whatever bills you have. Credit cards, consolidate other debt, or start a home improvement project. With Loan Pronto, you can access up to 95% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need the appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Do it now before the holidays. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
If you are experiencing persistent shoulder pain that may be the result of overuse or an injury such as a rotator cuff tear or tendonitis, the world-class orthopedic team at Houston Clinic Orthopedics will give you the appropriate medical attention to prevent any additional damage to the shoulder. Chronic pain or a permanent injury may occur without proper treatment. Houston Clinic Orthopedics is conveniently located where you work and live. Visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game. Center flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Titans Monday. What I always love about the Titans is the Titans could play a horrendous game on a Sunday, win by 1 point, and everybody the next day will just be so excited. And they could play a great game, lose by 1 point, and everybody the next day, unless it was Buffalo, where everybody knows going into the game that the other team's better, will just say, well, this team stinks, and the coaching was terrible, and everything else. And
that's called being a fan.
But this morning I woke up. I watch Titans game every single Monday, and I put down all my notes of what happened. Then I go back and I watch the tape, and because I just try to be fair, in criticizing people and judging people, and everything I try to do, I just try to be fair. That's all I say. Be fair and be honest with everybody, and that's kind of how I am. I really considered not watching the tape on the Texans game for really one huge reason. It's great that they rushed the ball 50 times yesterday for 5 million yards. We knew the Texans couldn't stop the run, and we know Derrick Henry's the best running back in the NFL. And as I have said, I think Derrick Henry belongs in the Hall of Fame, and so I hope he does things that help get him there and everything else. But none of that matters in this Kansas City game. You really think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to let Derrick Henry run the ball up the middle 30 times for 200 yards?
No, I do not.
Of course not. So this week, when we start talking about this Kansas City game, people will say things like, well, but Derrick Henry, and it's not going to be like it was last week. Now, the passing game won't be as bad as it was yesterday because Tannehill's going to play quarterback for the Titans against the Chiefs. And even though he probably won't be 100% or who knows or whatever, it will still be better than the ineptitude that we saw yesterday. But that doesn't really matter that they couldn't pass yesterday because it's not going to matter in this Kansas City game. The great defense. We had a caller call in the last segment and talk about championship caliber defense. And when he said that, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Right now, the Titans defense is ranked 14th in the NFL, which is good. And it's a lot better considering the fact that it was 28th 2 weeks ago. But they still have the 14th ranked defense in the NFL. Not exactly the 2000 Ravens yet. So that great defense yesterday that didn't allow a touchdown until the very, very, very end of the game when they were in prevent and Jeffrey Simmons was off the field and all of that, that great defense, that's not going to matter this Sunday because it ain't going to be that great. Trust me. It's not going to be. Who was the best player on the Texans offense yesterday?
Brandon Cooks, maybe.
Okay, and they're trying to get rid of him for like a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right now, if you were to ask the Texans who the most valuable player on their offense is other than a lineman, they would tell you that it's Dameon Pierce, their running back, and he's whatever.
He's a guy.
He's what? He ain't Travis Kelce. So everything about yesterday's game doesn't matter.
But also, to be fair, how many times do we ever expect a defense to let Derrick Henry run for 150-plus yards?
I mean, a lot of people were expecting.
And how many times has he done it?
6.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people were expecting this from the Texans. I mean, all they talked about all week was the last 3 times Derrick Henry's played the Texans, he's run for 770 yards.
And the Texans have a trash run defense, and I don't know what the Chiefs is ranked, but I have to believe that it's going to be better than the Texans. I hear you, I understand that, but I'm saying we never expect good teams to let Derrick Henry run all over them. And sometimes he doesn't, but a lot of times he does.
No, this will be like the AFC Championship game where Derrick ran for 180 yards the week. Got away from the Titans because of their defense, and they really stopped running the ball in the third quarter. So I don't, Frank Clark and those guys were all bragging about how they stopped Derrick Henry. I'm not necessarily sure that's true, that's what happened. Vrabel was asked about that AFC Championship game today, talked about how he doesn't think about that or whatever. I guarantee you Derrick Henry will. But Derrick Henry's not going to run for 250 yards against the Chiefs. He's just not going to. They're not going to let that happen, even though he has run well against the Chiefs, and he will have to run well on Sunday night in order for the Titans to have any prayer of winning this game. But it's not going to be as easy as it was against the Texans. Cody Hollister played a bunch yesterday against the Texans. And I guarantee you that a lot of you deep down inside, regardless of if I explain to you why Cody Hollister played so much, you all will get very, very mad that Cody Hollister played a lot. Cody Hollister, at least to them, is their second best run blocking wide receiver, in their opinion, behind Nick Westbrook-Akine. And so when they knew every play they were going to run the ball, they weren't even trying to trick the Texans. They were just like, we're going to run the ball every play. So Hollister, you're in the game. That's not going to happen on Sunday night against the Chiefs, because they can't go in there against the Chiefs and say, we're going to run the ball every single play. Jeffrey Simmons pushing back linemen into 3-yard losses, probably not going to happen against the Chiefs. It'd be great. Christian Fulton and Roger McCreary had great coverage pretty much the whole game. Well, guess what? I like Roger McCreary. I don't think he can run with Mecole Hardman. So it's not going to be the same. So it's a long-winded way of saying, there are things throughout the course of the season that have happened for the Titans that they're going to need to have on Sunday night. But what happened specifically yesterday, that game plan, that way that they won, that will not be applicable to this Sunday's game. The Titans were daring Davis Mills to beat them yesterday. They're not going to dare Patrick Mahomes to beat them. They are going to need to find a way to slow down Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not going to say the Titans can't win this game, because I think the Titans can win the game. I think they are a bad matchup for Kansas City. I think that the Titans give Kansas City as much of a fit as anybody else in the AFC, and that includes Buffalo, because Kansas City has beaten Buffalo more over the last couple of years than they've beaten the Titans, because they didn't beat the Titans in 2019 in the regular season, and they didn't beat the Titans last year. But they beat the Chiefs in 2020. They beat the Chiefs last year. So I think it's, I think that Kansas City, it's a bad matchup for them with the Titans. But I'm not going to get excited about what happened yesterday and start applying that at all as to what's going to happen Sunday night. And the reality is the things that happened in last night's game that I think about with Sunday's game are, if you miss a 48-yard field goal when you get a second attempt at it, you're screwed. If it's a tie game and you're playing the Chiefs and you get a 53-yard kick and you push it wide right and you get another shot at it from 48 yards, 5 yards in after a penalty, and you push the same kick wide right without making the adjustment, you're in deep trouble. If you field a fair catch punt at the 6-yard line against the Kansas City Chiefs, like Robert Woods did, and now Kansas City with those fans are blasting the tomahawk chop into your defensive huddle, and Tannehill's on the silent count at the 6-yard line, you're in trouble. If Kevin Byard drops an interception in the middle of the field like he did yesterday against Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes ain't throwing another one to you. So that's what I take away from yesterday's game, that those things have to be better. But as far as we're going to run the ball up the middle every single play and get 22 yards on every handoff.
Well, no, that's not realistic.
The idea of this defense is going to go into Kansas City and dominate the Chiefs, that's just not going to happen.
They might. I'm not going to predict it. Not the same way that they were able to dominate the Texans.
It's just not. I mean, it's a totally different game. Again, like what the Titans...
Especially in Arrowhead, too.
The Titans, we talk about how good the defensive line was yesterday, and it was really good, but they were committed to stopping the run. The Titans came into that and said, hey, Dameon Pierce is their best player, so even though it's Dameon Pierce and not Emmitt Smith, let's bow up defensively and stop them, whereas they're not going to go into Kansas City and think that. And, take a guy, I love Andrew Adams, number 47. Mm-hmm. I think he's a great tackler. Well, the problem is that all those guys that Kansas City has, for the most part, are either bigger than him or faster than him. So everybody there, it's great that he can square guys up and tackle them, but he's not going to be able to square up Edwards-Helaire like he's able to square up O.J. Howard. He's not going to be able to square up Travis Kelce or run with Travis Kelce the way that he could run with Jordan Akins. It's a different level of team. Not to say they can't win, but I'm just saying, what you saw yesterday, be happy for Derrick Henry with what you saw yesterday. Because all these stats count the same. Whenever they are, deciding in that room as to who goes to the Hall of Fame and who doesn't, no one's going to say, well, he tied O.J. Simpson and Adrian Peterson for the most 200-yard games of all time. But, 4 of those came against the Texans and they suck. That's not going to happen.
No.
So all those stats count the same. And every single one of those players knows that, which is why they were still getting sacks late in the fourth quarter, because they know that at the end of the season, all these stats count the same. But as far as taking what happened yesterday and applying that to Sunday, no. Titans are going to have to play a better game. Titans are going to have to do things that we haven't seen them do this season, or all the good things that they've done this season. They're going to like Hooper's catches against the Colts. You're going to need some Hooper catches on Sunday against Kansas City and all of that. So that's just kind of my little disclaimer about yesterday's game. Be excited. Be happy for Derek.
Yeah, absolutely.
But don't think that you're going to do the same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think it's easy to say that, but for somehow I know we're going to get people that text that are like, what if Derek runs for 250 yards this week? Okay. If he does that, I'll be stunned.
I will be very impressed.
I will be stunned because I know Kansas City is sitting around there just like I figured the Texans were last week with all those hours of how do we make sure he doesn't run for 250 yards?
If he does get 250 this weekend, I think we can have a legitimate conversation about if Derek can get 2,000 yards this season.
Oh, I just wanted to win a rushing title, which is why I'm rooting against Nick Chubb.
Yeah, Nick Chubb nipping out his ankles.
Yeah, but has Nick Chubb had a bye week?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Don't think so.
I don't think he has either. So, anywho.
It's a close race.
And then there's Saquon.
Saquon's in the lead right now, I believe. Yep.
So we'll keep an eye on that. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. The Titans have less than 24 hours to decide if they need to make a trade. Do they? We will discuss coming up. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. One thing that you can do when you bet on the NFL is you can always find new players or game props that you like. And what's cool about FanDuel is you can combine these props with other bets from the same game to score an even bigger payout, which is perfect. I mean, perfect for tonight's game. So you can go under rushing yards for Nick Chubb if you're like me, or you can go over passing yards, Joe Burrow, or Jacoby Brissett to throw an interception, and I think he probably will. FanDuel Sportsbook is easy to use. They have live betting and fast withdrawals, so when you win, FanDuel pays you your winnings quickly. There's no feeling like nailing a same-game parlay, so lock in your bet today on FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with the promo code JGM. That's promo code JGM, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and older and present, Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days after your receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
College football.
Touchdown, Georgia. Nice catch and move by Holden. Touchdown. Touchdown.
Lives here. Don't miss every exciting play each Saturday.
Into the end zone. Touchdown to the freshman, Dane Key.
It's all presented by Twin Peaks, your home of 20-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports, and by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
When I came to Genesis, I was completely shocked and surprised.
That's Tara Michelle, but like so many of her customers, she's made the switch to Genesis.
Now working at Genesis, I'm able to offer my customers want more inventory, more selection, better pricing, better warranties and guarantees.
And Tara loves that now she's got access to the top designers and all the latest ring styles. Over 4,000 choices.
The picture that she's captured on Instagram, they show me that picture. I don't have just one option for them. I have plenty. And we're going to hit it out of the park every single time. I'm not only getting the customers exactly what they want style-wise, but the price is going to be unbeatable. Without a doubt, hands down.
And unlike the other stores, Tara's not working on commission at Genesis, so less stress for everyone.
I'm not putting pressure on the customer to purchase because no one's putting pressure on me to sell. I have the freedom to make it a personal experience for them.
Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Get your game on at Social Furniture with their fall specials. Entertain in style and make your social experience more comfortable and inviting. Everyone loves to socialize. That's why you need new furniture. Shop today at Social Furniture to get your home ready for the holidays with package deals on new living rooms, dining rooms, and bedroom sets with top brand names. Save big. Professional same-day delivery and installation. Finance interest free. Huge selection in stock. Shop local. Shop social. Visit Social Furniture at 5412 Charlotte Avenue.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Craneworks, the Southeast leader for crane and equipment rental, is looking for the best in the business to fill positions as qualified operators, truck drivers, and mechanics. Craneworks provides superior customer service and a superior work environment. Start lifting Nashville to new heights and apply today at craneworks.com/careers. That's craneworks.com/careers.
Never miss a moment of the show.
What is this? Check it out.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, trade deadline in the NFL is tomorrow. Do the Titans need to make a trade? We'll get to that in 1 second. But now, I promised I'd be doing this today. I promised. Let's give away the tickets to see the Tennessee Volunteers basketball team take on the Colorado Buffaloes at Bridgestone Arena on Sunday, November 13th. Be there to witness the Volunteers in action as they look to run their all-time record against Colorado to 5-0. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. I gave you all two names and one date to remember throughout the course of today's show. And I told you that you were going to have to call Ian and tell Ian the two names and the one date to remember in order to win those tickets. And let me say this. If we do not have a winner, if none of y'all were listening when we announced these things for you to remember in order to win these things, then we'll just have to do the same thing tomorrow. And we'll have to see if anybody will get it right. 615-737-1025 for that number to call Ian. Bill Polian was on SiriusXM NFL Radio, and he was talking about the trade deadline. Here's what the Hall of Fame general manager said about what he thinks is out there.
At the trade deadline, you don't have players on the market who are necessarily going to command top picks. And so when you talk premium picks, 1, 2, 3, those are the ones that are valuable. Anything after that is sort of small change. I think if you see movement, as we talked about with Adam, with Akers from the Rams, that's likely a 7, which is, heck, that's a bag of footballs, really. I mean, you can replace that with a collegiate free agent with no sweat. But as the blockbusters, guys moving for 1s, 2s, or 3s, the only big one we've seen is McCaffrey. And I have not heard of anyone with a big name that's on the market that would command a lot of currency now.
Okay, so keep that in mind whenever we see somebody that's Jared, they got to get a wide receiver. Jared, they got to get an offensive lineman. They've got to this, that. Polian just told you he doesn't think anybody on the market is worth a first-round pick. In fact, Roquan Smith today got traded, and it was a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick.
Second and a fifth next year, yep.
For Roquan Smith. So, and I think Roquan Smith's pretty good.
He's a really good player.
So that tells you that the first-round pick, for the most part, is not in discussions. Now, I heard Adam Schefter yesterday before the London Jags-Broncos game. And remember that Adam Schefter, if there is any organization that Adam Schefter is more connected to, there's no organization that he's more connected to than the Broncos. There's also not an organization, in my opinion, that he carries more water for than the Broncos. And here's what he said yesterday about their situation. He said that he thinks if they had lost, that they would have traded Bradley Chubb. But if they won, then they were going to try to sign Bradley Chubb to an extension. He also said that they weren't looking to trade KJ Hamler or Jerry Jeudy and that they'd have to be even blown away to consider it. And you know what I interpreted that to mean?
Who wants to give us a first-round pick for Jerry Jeudy?
Call us! Call us for Jerry Jeudy or KJ
We're
Hamler.
not interested, but we'll listen to
Call
offers.
us. Please call us.
Also, is that smart GMing? If we lose, we're going to trade you. If we don't, we're going to sign you to an extension. That seems like a little bit over-dramatic and putting a little bit too much investment into a single game.
Into the Jacksonville game?
Yes.
So Dan Graziano wrote that he thought that Nathaniel Hackett was going to get fired if they lost that game. And then apparently the owner came out.
But beating the Jags doesn't prove to me that you're a good coach. It just means that you're competent and you beat a bad team.
And I watched that game. They did beat a bad team. But Graziano said that. Then the owner was talking in London, and he said that, he's not, he thinks Hackett's the guy and all this kind of stuff.
Of course he
does. And then when they intercepted Trevor Lawrence to win the game, they showed Hackett, and he was hugging some dude on the sidelines like he had won the Super Bowl.
He just saved his job.
I was surprised that they didn't dump Gatorade on him after what I saw, the emotion from Nathaniel Hackett. So make of that what you will, right? So everyone, Jerry Jeudy, and I'm telling you, Bill Polian says, I'm not trading a first-round pick for that. And, Bill Polian talked about Cam Akers from the Rams, who's been looking for a trade for the last 3 weeks, and he said that he would trade him he'd trade a seventh for him, which is like a bag of footballs, which is kind of true. So what do we make of it? What do we make of the Titans at the trade deadline? What do we make of Polian saying that there is not a player that he would deal a first-round pick for? And I kind of agree with it. And when I think of first-round pick, here's where I think the Titans have to be a little careful. And I know that people act like what others think of them doesn't matter. We hear this all the time about I don't care what other people think, or, there's very few people out there that truly don't care what other people think. Like Charles Barkley doesn't care what other people think, but most people do. So the idea that the Titans aren't paying attention to what people think of them is probably false. They traded A.J. Brown for a first-round pick and a third-round pick. They traded A.J. Brown when it comes to the Jimmy Johnson trade chart for the value of the 16th overall pick in an NFL draft. So if they're going to trade away a first-round pick, even though the value of their first-round pick, which might be 27, the value of that pick is nowhere near the value of the 16th overall pick, according to the trade chart, which is what they traded away A.J. Brown for. They know that if they trade a first-round pick, let's say for a receiver, and there's really no receiver out there that's worth a first-round pick. Polian said in that same show, that DJ Moore, he wouldn't trade a first-round pick for, but if he was Carolina, he wouldn't accept anything less than a first-round pick for DJ Moore, so somebody has to overpay in order to get him. But let's just say the Titans trade for Curtis Samuel from the Washington Commanders, who is probably as good as any receiver that they have. But let's say they do that. They trade a first-round pick for that, which they wouldn't, but let's just say they do.
That'd be dumb, but
if they do, everybody will look at whatever receiver they trade a first-round pick for, and they will compare that person to A.J. Brown. If they trade a first-round pick for Jerry Jeudy, who has never had a 1,000-yard season, everybody will look at the Titans and think, you traded a first-round pick for a guy who's never had a 1,000-yard season in 2.5 years in the NFL, is not the best receiver on his team, and you traded away A.J. Brown for the same thing? Seriously? Even though it's not, people will say that.
It is. And it's going to be constant comparison, not just for that trade, but also what we've been comparing to A.J. Brown since July, and that's Treylon Burks.
Oh, massive disappointment. A.J. Brown, 3 touchdowns yesterday. Treylon Burks hadn't played in a month. It was a massive disappointment. They've already lost that. Like, as far as public opinion
but it's
and
just
how people
going to
feel.
Continue.
And, yeah. But now it's going to make that decision to trade A.J. Brown look even worse. I mean, the decision
because
to
at
trade
this
A.J.
point
Brown
you've given
is-
up 2 first-round picks for 1. 2 first-round picks, 1 for Treylon Burks and 1 for the first-round pick that they would trade hypothetically for a wide receiver, and they got 1 in return for trading A.J. Brown.
So what you're saying is that they traded away a
2
first-round pick to replace A.J. Brown, 2 first-round picks
to replace A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown.
And only got 1 in return for A.J. Brown. 1 and Malik, who may or may not be a backup.
The third-round pick that they received in that deal. That being said, I think the Titans need to make a trade. And I think the Titans need to really kick the tires. And it's one of those things where if I'm the Titans, I am not worried in getting involved in any, insider says the Titans have kicked the tires, and is this true? Is this not? I think the Titans need to look at their 5th-round pick in next year's draft, or, I wouldn't trade away a first or a second for, if Polian says there's no players out there that are worth a first or a second, then I wouldn't trade away a first or a second. But I would be calling, all these teams that aren't very good, and I would be targeting these players, knowing that they were going to ask for a lot in return, sticking with what I'd be willing to deal. Like, if I'm only willing to deal a 4th-round pick for Charles Leno, the left tackle of the Commanders, and I call and I say to the Commanders, I'd like Charles Leno, and they say, oh, that'll be a 2nd-round pick. Well, that's not going to work. Now, if you want to move his contract and you want to trade him to us, you could do it, and we'll trade you a 4th-round pick, but we're not going to trade you a 2nd-round pick and be done with it. Just say, this is what we're going to do. This is it. Move on. But I do think the Titans need to be active tomorrow. They won't be. I know in my heart they won't be. But I do think that they should be, because as much as I hate the idea of chasing after the trade of A.J. Brown, that is what they are away from being a Super Bowl contender.
And also, at some point, you have to acknowledge that was a mistake and we need to fix it.
I just don't know if this is the right time to fix it. I just don't know if this is the right time, because the point that Polian makes.
Then what is the right time?
Well, in the offseason, that's when guys get disgruntled, or that's when guys want new contracts, or that's when owners don't want to pay, or that's when Davante Adams says he's not going to return, and then that guy's on the market. And, again, just this past offseason alone, we're talking wide receiver right now. And how many guys are out there at wide receiver that are true number ones like A.J. Brown? I mean, I heard Max Kellerman say today he thinks A.J. Brown's the best receiver in the NFL. So
make the argument for that.
How many guys out there are true number ones right now that are on the block? Nobody.
I can't not think of one.
Nobody.
A couple of 2s.
Well, next year, in the offseason, this past year, we saw A.J. Brown get traded. We saw Tyreek Hill get traded. We saw Davante Adams get traded. We saw Stephon Diggs a couple years ago get traded. So guys will get traded in the offseason. We saw DeAndre Hopkins get traded. So I guess it's my way of saying I don't know who would become available at the start of next offseason, what the receiver market will look like, but I have to believe it'll look better than right now, which is maybe Elijah Moore. He's not a number 1 receiver in the NFL. 615-737-1025. Add that to the list. 3 o'clock tomorrow. If the Titans are going to make a trade, they will have to make it by 3 o'clock. And again, Bill Polian said there are not any players out there worth a 1st or a 2nd-round pick that he's heard of. So stop with we need a tackle, Jared. Right. I agree. But who? And you're not trading a 2nd-round pick for Charles Leno unless you're stupid. 615-737-1025 is our phone number to get in. Ian, did somebody win those Tennessee tickets?
First caller, Alex, nailed it.
Way to go, Alex.
Nice, Alex.
Way to go, Alex.
Enjoy the game.
So he'll be at the Tennessee-Colorado game. 615-737-1025. And one need that I don't think you trade for unless somebody's willing to give it to you, but one need that I think is clearly there after yesterday. We'll get to that and your phones. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game. Let me check. Let me tell all the fine folks. Catch the Eddie George Show tonight featuring Jonathan Hutton on 102.5-106.3 The Game at 6 o'clock, live from 6th and Peabody. The Eddie George Show is brought to you by Low T Centers and Xander Insurance. Xander gives you more options. More options means more savings for you. Free quote at XanderInsurance.com.
Every Monday at 6, it's the Eddie George Show live from 6th and Peabody.
When we hit the turf and clock in, we're locked in, and we're committed to our craft.
Each week, the former Titan and current TSU head coach will be joined by Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton.
Props to you and your staff, but also to the kids that have bought into everything you're saying.
And special guests to break down the Tigers' latest game and talk all things football. The Eddie George Show, Mondays at 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hi, this is Chef Mark again from Bob's Steak and Chop House at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Looking for the next place to hold a business dinner or just a private room for you and your guests to enjoy? Then look no further than Bob's. We believe in top quality food and service without all the distractions. So join us and experience why we've been voted Diner's Choice on Open Table for 6 years running.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey, it's Eddie George. You know we all have crazy busy lives and don't take time to research car insurance, right? Well, you don't have to. Xander Insurance does all the work for you. Their system shops over 15 top companies to find you the best rates, and they keep shopping every year. Their clients have saved an average of $600. That's why I'm a client. Xander gives me more options. More options means more savings. Get free quotes at XanderInsurance.com or call 800-356-1780.
Middle Tennessee football is back in action at home on Saturday, November 12th. The Blue Raiders will take on Charlotte in our 40th annual Salute to Veterans and Armed Forces football game. Kickoff is set for 2:30 p.m. inside Floyd Stadium. Come early and join in on the festivities honoring our veterans. To purchase tickets or for more information, visit goblueraiders.com/tickets. Middle Tennessee, we are Blue Knighted.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required. Refund available for 60 days after purchase.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. You'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. Results are guaranteed or your money back. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Coming up on the Tuesday edition of Chase, Willie, and D-Mace, we'll talk to Predators General Manager David Poyle at 11:15, plus our weekly visit with NFL analyst from ESPN, Tim Hasselbeck, at noon. The fun begins at 10 right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, this is Jordan Rogers, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
New set of downs for the Titans. Willis to throw. Over the middle, intercepted. Picked off in the middle of the field by Steven Nelson. Nelson with blocking in front of him. And out of bounds. In the red zone. And the turnover has set up the Houston Texans.
Well, this was so well played by Steven Nelson, but Malik Willis was a little bit late. Watch, the ball should be out now. It's not, and he hangs it back inside. You see, he's almost in past that hash mark. The ball goes inside, and you can't play that any better than Nelson. But to me, that was all a matter of timing on the route and not putting it out in front. That was a mistake by Willis. And Nelson, who has done a really nice job, all the corners here, whether it's Nelson or Stingley or King, they've all done a pretty good job in coverage. They haven't tackled well, but they've done a good job in coverage. But that's Nelson taking advantage of a bad throw by Willis and making a huge play for their defense.
Titans need a new backup quarterback, and that is not me saying they need to get rid of Malik. That is me saying, again, the trade deadline is tomorrow, and I'm not saying that the Titans need to make a trade for a backup quarterback because they could sign Sean Mannion off of the Seahawks practice squad, but I am putting Sean Mannion in there before I am putting Malik Willis in a potential playoff game because Malik just ain't there yet. And now I'm glad that it's there for everybody to see. I think the Titans were playing with fire as him to the backup to Tannehill. Imagine if Tannehill had that ankle injury in the second half of the Giants game. And now, 2-minute drill, Malik's got to lead them down the field in order for them to kick a game-winning field goal with one timeout. Ain't going to happen.
But is there a reason why they should move on from Woodside?
I mean,
beyond the fact that he just doesn't have a ton of experience, and I also just don't think he's very good.
He was horrendous in training.
Is Sean Mannion that much better?
I do think Sean Mannion is that much better.
Worth going to go get him?
Well, again, all you have to do is sign him off the practice squad, but he does have to be a member of your active roster. And yes, I do think Sean Mannion is that much better. Sean Mannion has started games in the NFL before. Now, he's never won any of them, but he has started them. And that is, right now, I'd take Blaine Gabbert so fast over what we saw out of Malik. Malik he can't throw. Ask yourself this question. Did Malik make a single good throw yesterday?
No. I mean, he had those couple to Robert Woods that were short, easy passes when he was wide open, and Malik had all the time in the world. So if you want to call those good passes, then sure. But beyond that, no.
I mean, not one good pass. Backup quarterbacks have to be able to make at least one good pass over the course of a game. Like a real NFL game. And I'm not saying they need a great backup, but
I'm not here arguing that Malik Willis should be the starting quarterback or should be the starter as long as Tannehill is out or however long Tannehill is out. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying, is it worth it to go out to get another one when we've also got Logan Woodside?
So they're going to tell you no. I'm going to tell you yes. But then again, Trevor Simeon's the kind of guy that I would say, hey, this is the kind of guy to bring in here to back up Tannehill, and Logan beat him out in training camp in 2020. Now, again, Logan had his chance this year.
Yeah.
And he sucked.
And he didn't look great.
Again, I asked this question. If it's not the Texans, AFC divisional playoff at home against the Chiefs today.
Okay.
Who's your backup quarterback?
I don't know.
Willis or Woodside?
They're both pretty bad.
Got to pick one.
Eileen Willis.
Ian, who's your backup quarterback? AFC divisional playoff, because technically the Titans are the number 2 seed right now in the AFC. The Titans are the number 2 seed. You're playing the Chiefs this weekend for the divisional in the divisional round for a trip to Buffalo for the AFC title game. Who's the backup to Tannehill?
I feel like they went with Willis as the back. I guess I shouldn't say why they went with Willis as the backup, but I guess our issue with Woodside during the preseason was all the turnovers. Mm-hmm. And he kept, making some erratic, bad throws.
Oh, his practices were horrible.
I mean, it sounds like he was making some bad throws. I don't know if it was decision-making or if he just can't make the throws. But I feel like Woodside could have done what Willis did yesterday. Like, I don't see what he did anything different that Willis couldn't do. As far as, didn't really ask him to throw. All they really did was turn around and hand it off to Henry. Maybe he gives him a little extra run threat for some of those RPOs with Hilliard and Henry and some of the short yardage situations. I would probably lean Woodside.
That's why they got to go get somebody else. I'm convinced of it. And it's not to say that Malik won't ever be any good. I'm not saying that. But right now, I got criticized a bunch in training camp because I said publicly that Malik stinks right now. And everybody's like, Jared, he's a rookie. You don't understand. You don't. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. You didn't hear what I said. I said he stinks right now, which means, as in, if he had to play right now, he would stink. Malik yesterday, no disrespect to Malik, stunk. Can't throw. Phones, 615-737-1025. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
William Texan says, Jared wants more than anything for Malik to not be the backup quarterback because of his wrong takes during training camp about Malik winning the backup position. He's 1-0 as a starter right now.
I was right. Yesterday did not prove you right. Yesterday proved me right. Yesterday did not prove. We just discussed whether or not Logan Woodside should be the backup in an AFC playoff game, and it had like a legitimate discussion in which none of the three of us liked any of the choices after yesterday's game.
He was really just picking the less of two evils.
I mean, the reality is I was more right about yesterday than anybody else.
And also, the Titans, or Malik being 1-0 as the starter for the Titans, has nothing to do with Malik and everything to do with Derrick Henry and the defense.
And you know who knows that?
Everybody.
Malik. I mean, Malik yesterday was like, what would you do if you were calling the plays? Like, you're right, Malik.
Yeah.
I'd hand the ball to Derek.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's like Chris Sanders yesterday on the pregame show was talking about this, and he was like, I think Todd Downing has to put Malik in the right situations. And I'm like, that's great. But a lot of times it feels like the game dictates some of those situations where, look, hey, you're up by, what was it, 14-3. You can run the ball every play. Run, 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 run. Put it in Hilliard. Run, 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 run. And it doesn't matter. You playing the Kansas City Chiefs this week and you're down 21-3. You can't run, 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 run. In fact, when the Titans beat the Chiefs at Nissan Stadium in 2019, Kansas City got a 14-point lead, in large part because of a horrendous call from the official. But the Titans, I believe, were down 14-0, and Derrick Henry ended up running for like 188 yards, and Tannehill threw for 182, and they ended up winning the game in miraculous fashion. But guess what the Titans did when they were down 14-0, even though they won the game with Derrick running for 188 yards?
Throw the football.
Tannehill threw a bomb to Khalif Raymond.
And if we're going to talk about backups, though, when you're down 21-3 to the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't know how many backups in the league can throw you to victory if you're down that bad.
My point is, though, they wouldn't have a choice at that point.
That's true.
And it would be the game. So regardless of whether you want to say, Todd Downing needs to put Malik in good situations, well, the game dictates that. If you need a 2-minute drive, the game dictates what you have to do, no matter what Todd Downing wants to call for Malik. Todd Downing of the 32nd offense in the National Football League.
Is that bad?
I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's.
Is that the worst?
I think it's bad.
Okay.
I think it's bad. What's next?
Belvis texts in and says, Jared, doesn't matter if Tannehill would go down in the playoffs. At least Malik may help with his legs and a wow throw, and the other backup would be sublime in the playoffs.
A wow throw. He had Chigakonkwo wide open on the sideline.
Overthrew him.
In which Adam Archuleta, and I'd have to look at the tape to be able to tell you if Adam Archuleta is right, but I'm going to assume that he was, says that's a touchdown if he connects with him. And he was wide open.
He was wide
open. It was
open.
like Jalen Hyatt, just all green on the TV with that guy. And so, I mean, you tell me that, oh, yeah, he could make some plays. He could, if any backup had to, and I will say, when Patrick Mahomes got concussed in 2020 in the AFC divisional playoffs against Baker Mayfield and the Chiefs, and they were losing, Chad Henne brought them back and won the game. Could Chad Henne have started the next week and beaten Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills? Probably not. But again, for that moment, they needed somebody they could rely on. Chad Henne was that guy. That's what the Titans need now. Buffalo's got it perfect. They've got Case Keenum as the backup to Josh Allen. Do they ever want Case Keenum to play? Hell no. They don't want Case Keenum to play.
Nobody wants their backup to play.
No. But if he has to, they're fine with it. Who's Kansas City's backup? Do we know?
It's a good question.
I think it is Henne.
Still?
I want to say it is.
He's got to be like 42 years old.
Well, if he's a backup, he can play forever. It is Chad Henne.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
So Kansas City can afford Chad Henne, and Buffalo can afford Case Keenum, and we got to watch Malik. I'm just saying. Jason's up next. 615-737-1025. What you got, Jason? Jason.
Hey, yeah.
Go.
Hey, I know you're just mad because he beat you yesterday, too. You picked him to win, and he beat you just as much as he beat the rest of them. He's 1-0 as a starter, and he's undefeated. He don't never play another game.
Why would I care about that? Why would I care?
I don't know. Just you giving us your opinion, but your opinion yesterday didn't do so good.
I said the Texans were going to win because Malik couldn't throw, and I just didn't know the Texans were that bad. But it's not like I'm sitting here. Thank you for calling, Jason. It's not like I'm sitting here thinking to myself, man, you know what? I grew up a Titans fan. I went to the first game ever. I cried at the Super Bowl when they lost by a yard. I almost went catatonic when Tannehill threw 3 interceptions against the Bengals. And I sat there and I said to myself, well, on one hand, I have my hometown team winning and the idea of hosting a radio show in a week in which the Titans would be 5-2 playing 5-2 Kansas City on Sunday Night Football, or my opinion that the Texans were going to win 16-13. Which one do I want more?
I'm going to lean the former.
Okay. I mean, come on, people. And I did that. Again, I think I was proven right. I think I was proven right about Malik in training camp and everything else with his performance yesterday. I just figured the Texans would do a little better stopping the run.
Maybe you were discrediting Derrick Henry a little bit.
I don't think it's a Henry. Like, I just figured the Texans were like, hey, whatever happens, man. Like, I don't care if whatever they do throwing the ball. Like, we're not.
You just have to stop Derrick Henry.
We're not doing. We need to commit 10 guys.
But that's everyone's game plan against the Titans, always, ever.
Yeah, but at least with Tannehill, if you do that,
there's at least a threat of the passing game. Yeah.
615-737-1025. Chris is up next. Thank you for calling. What you got for me, Chris?
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, Jared, you're crazy. They're not going to trade for a backup quarterback.
Or sign somebody.
They came out of camp with Malik and Woodside, and Malik's been the first guy in, 3 years to be able to beat out Woodside as the backup. The last 2 years before that, they tried everybody, and nobody could beat out Woodside.
I mean, I would say trying everybody and trying Deshaun Kaiser are two separate things, but I do understand your point, and it is a well point made. Thank you for your call. I mean, I think that it is obvious that they tried Trevor Siemian and he didn't beat out Woodside, and Trevor Siemian's been a backup in New Orleans and is now the backup to Justin Fields in Chicago. But yes, this is going to sound crazy. I know Woodside beat him out 2 years ago. I would feel more comfortable with Trevor Siemian as the backup quarterback at the Tennessee
What
Titans.
about Matt Barkley?
So is Barkley still in the Bills practice squad?
Last I saw, yes.
I'd sign him.
But what is so different now than when Logan Woodside beat them out?
I don't know.
Like,
Maybe
did
it was
Logan
the
just
Malik,
get worse?
Like, was it the Malik thing that forced Logan to play with pressure that he's never had before, and so he played so crappily in training camp? I don't know.
Is he worse?
Logan?
Yes.
Yes.
How do you know?
Because I saw training camp.
But did you see the others in training camp? Did you see Matt Barkley in training camp?
I did see Matt Barkley the year before in training camp.
The year before.
And he was.
But Logan Woodside looked a whole lot better in training camp the year before, too.
I watched Matt Barkley play a preseason game for the Buffalo Bills against the Carolina Panthers, and Matt Barkley was better in that than anything that I saw from Logan Woodside. If they signed Matt Barkley off of the practice squad of the Buffalo Bills today, I would be happy, and I would want him to be the backup quarterback on Sunday night at Kansas City. Malik cannot throw. Like, he can't throw right now. They tried throwing. It didn't work.
It didn't work. I know.
It didn't work. And I'm not being rude. I'm just calling it how it is. And they're setting that kid up to fail. And I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. They're playing with fire, and now everybody knows it. 615-737-1025. Line movement. Two huge games. The two biggest games of the week in both the NFL and college. We're going to take a look at that. Plus, Malik talked to Tannehill yesterday. What Tannehill had to say. We'll get into that. And I do have to defend an opinion of mine. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Your home for the MTSU Blue Raiders is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Every touchdown.
Yes, touchdown.
Every three.
Free ball, yes, sir.
It all lives here.
Middle Tennessee.
You can also hear the Blue Raiders in the Borough on 97.5, Middle Tennessee Athletics on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Slowly clearing out as we head through the overnight hours. Temperatures will drop back into the low 50s. Looking at sunshine for the day on Tuesday. Temperatures climbing back to the low 70s. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
312 Pizza Company is home to Southeastern Carolines with Caroline Fenton.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Nissan. At this time of year, I think back to when I was a kid and wonder why my parents always told me to never take candy from strangers, but would then on Halloween have me knock on strangers' doors and ask for it. Weird, right? You know, they always say strange things happen on Halloween. I guess that's true here too. Strangely enough, our cars keep disappearing, but that's probably due to our falling prices and excellent customer service. At Newton, we put customers first, we actually listen to your needs, and try to find the best and most affordable option for you. It must be working, because these cars just keep disappearing. Don't let that scare you though. We have new ones in the lot every day. So no matter if you're in the market for a new car, looking to sell your car, or looking to service your car to keep it running at its peak, come on down to Newton and check out our spooky deals or visit us online at newtonnissan.com.
Need cash for the holidays or to pay off credit cards right now? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. This is great. You can keep your low mortgage rate and still get cash out. That's right. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low rate. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will come your way, and it only costs you around $300 a month. Use that money to pay off whatever bills you have, credit cards, consolidate other debt, or start a home improvement project. With Loan Pronto, you can access up to 95% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need the appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Do it now before the holidays. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Get in zone, AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Castrol Edge can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life Oil Filter for only $38.99. Get everything you need for better fuel efficiency at any of our 6,200 stores or on AutoZone.com. Get in zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply.
Chase McCabe.
The best way to figure that out is to watch Twitter.
Willie Donick.
Trying to move down the field for the winning field goal.
And Derek Mason.
I'm putting in my hours and I'm out of here.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
You heard from Ryan?
Yeah, he texted me.
What'd he say?
Bro, why you all in my texts? No, I'm just playing. He was like, congrats on your first dub, first NFL start and a first NFL W. Now, not a lot of people get to do that, so I was just appreciative to him and texting back on that.
There you go. That was Malik and Tannehill yesterday after the game. By the way, I guaranteed that Ryan Tannehill would start on Sunday. I am defending that take right here and now. And I would tell you why.
I did see your defense on Twitter.
Here's why. I was told that Tannehill did not play because of whatever bug it is that he had on Friday and Saturday. And then Malik was asked after the game, and again, maybe Malik's just saying this to say this. He was asked when he found out he would be starting, and he said when you guys found out was when he found out that he would be starting, which, as we told you, Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport were the people to keep an eye on for that. And it was broken by Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport. So I stand by my guarantee because I cannot assume that somebody, he got sick. Now, some people have told me, no, it was the ankle. It wasn't sick. And some people have told me, and I don't want to reveal who has told me what, but a person who I trust told me that Tannehill woke up on Saturday and was still sick, and with that, he was not able to travel, and that's why he didn't play. Make of that what you will, I don't know. But the same person that told me that Tannehill was out with the ankle told me that Simmons wasn't going to play, and Simmons did play. So I'm not sure I can trust that Tannehill was going to be inactive with the ankle, whereas I was told by somebody else that it was definitely the stomach bug.
You guaranteed he was going to play.
No.
Period. You guaranteed he was going to play.
I agree, but I cannot be held responsible for somebody getting sick.
Yeah, you guaranteed it.
No, if I guaranteed somebody's going to play,
you
and then
absolutely
they get hit by
can be
a
held
bus,
responsible.
No, if I guarantee somebody gets hit, is going to play, I guarantee you that Mike Vrabel is going to start Derrick Henry this week, and then Derrick Henry gets hit by a bus and can't play in the game. It's not a wrong guarantee.
Well, then maybe you shouldn't make your guarantees all willy-nilly.
Oh, then maybe I shouldn't make any guarantees because I guess
maybe you shouldn't.
A Titan player could get struck by lightning and then all of a sudden, oh my God.
Which is true. You should keep that in mind whenever you're making your guarantees.
This
is a loss of a guarantee.
No, it's not.
Yes,
I was
it is.
guaranteeing.
Absolutely.
I've been guaranteeing since you were in grade school.
Oh my
I will
gosh, you
say
have
this.
not.
Ian, back me up.
Grade
the guarantee
school?
still stands.
Grade school?
When'd you graduate high school?
2015. High school's not grade school.
Yeah, it is.
No, it is not. That's high school.
10th grade.
That is sophomore year of high school.
Grade.
Grade school is elementary school.
Okay, what grade were you in when you were in 2017?
2017. I was a sophomore in college.
You mean you weren't in the 15th grade?
No, I was a sophomore in
Because
college.
that's not a grade, but the 11th grade is a grade.
You were wrong. You guaranteed he
I
would
was
play,
right.
and he didn't play.
I stand by my guarantee.
He didn't play. And
I cannot be held
you cannot
responsible
stand
for
by
man
a
getting
guarantee
sick.
when your guarantee was wrong.
No, you don't know that.
I do know that
My
because he
guarantee was
didn't
the
play.
ankle. My guarantee was the
Your
ankle.
guarantee was that he would start,
And he got
didn't.
sick. And from
He
what
didn't.
from what I was told, from a source that you would trust and they would trust and everybody would trust.
Excuses.
They say it was the stomach bug
Excuses.
that Tannehill woke up with on Friday. When I made the guarantee on Tuesday, he didn't even have that. I mean, how am I supposed to? I just can't. So it doesn't count. 615-737-1025. I do want to say the line is shifted. The Titans opened as 11.5-point dogs against Kansas City. It has shifted to 12.5. So we'll keep an eye on that. Maybe they're anticipating Tannehill will get sick again. There you go. Eddie George is up next. Derrick Henry passed him for rushing touchdowns. He'll have his reaction there.